showed corruption inside of me, and I wasn't alone, 'cause attention's what you need. You didn't get enough of me, and it's a poison in me. You were lucky to know me. I let you be the missing piece to my heart, and I should have known that your love is poison to me. You were lucky to know me. I let you be the missing piece to my heart, and I should have known that your love is poison to me.
Well. You guys hear me just fine? What's up, everybody?
Well. What do we have here?
Well, we got an episode 2 of Did We Go or Not, Chris? And if you guys that tuned in the last time, this is belief. You know what I say all the time, guys. Belief is the enemy of knowing. You know, do your own research and all those things, and a bag of chips, right? And so I think the first episode we did was, did we go to the moon? Everybody's telling me we went. I don't believe we did. And so we did a live a couple of weeks ago with Flat Earth Dave. And we didn't really talk that much about the moon. He gave a couple of things, showed some clips from NASA, I think on the space station, maybe a couple of things. And then he showed some other things about flat Earth and why he believes the Earth is flat. And then I had Mr. MC Toon reach out to me and says, hey, you gotta have a conversation with me because I can actually refute the things that he was saying. So I was like, well, let's set it up. And we tried to get it set up, I think the following week, but weather, I was under the weather. Most of the guys were. So here we are. We were able to get this lined up, especially right after Thanksgiving. So MC Toon, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. And so I'm glad you're here. So we got some questions. So, but I'm sure you got answers.
We spoke a lot about flat Earth during that one, and I thought Dave was great. Very enjoyable. Had some good points, and it made you think and everything like that. But we spent some time on the flat Earth thing, and to me, I'm not a flat earther. I'm not. And I can't, it's hard for me to, some of the points are spectacular, but at the same time, I'm like, and some of the videos, it seems like my social media, I'm getting notifications of conspiracy theories now. so now I'm like, okay, here we go. Now let's get into it. So I think after this one, maybe I'll also get a few different opinions, which I greatly welcome.
Yeah. Well, as far as me, am I a flat earther? I don't make any claims, but I definitely don't think it's no longer a ball like I used to believe, and I have my reasons for that, my own observations, whatever. And again, I've been on this journey since about 2015-ish, when I first 2012 actually, when I really got into my Bitcoin. I'm a crypto guy. That's when crypto actually opened my eyes to a lot of things, being on the blockchain. So with that being said, MC, he's probably going to tell me, well, let me tell you why it's a ball, and he's going to go into a lot of reasons why it is. So I'm definitely want to hear what he has to say, because I've been since 2015, MC, or 2012ish, I would say. So I really got into it. 2015 is kind of when that's when I really was like, okay, something's not right, right? So there's too many inconsistencies. There's too many things that just doesn't make sense to me. So that's probably when I was like, okay, I no longer believe we live on a ball, or it's either flat, or it's a much bigger ball than they're telling us. It's one or the other. I don't think it's both, obviously. But yeah, so I want to hear some of the things that you're going to refute that David Weiss say, or Flat Earth Dave. But that's my take. So I think if there's a flat earther on this stage, right, on this panel, it's probably going to be me, right? I'm not claiming the earth is flat, but I just, belief is the enemy of knowing. And there's, so I no longer believe it, that we're on a ball. Fowler, what about yourself, buddy?
I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of in between. I'm just kind of like on the same playing field as Kryptonian. Once upon a time, you couldn't convince me. You couldn't tell me that the world wasn't flat. I mean, the world wasn't round, right? And I mean, as time goes on, the same people who are approving, the education that goes through the system right now. You find out a lot of this stuff is lies. Some of the stuff hasn't even happened. A lot of stuff is just like made up by man, right? So pretty much it's controlled by man. So if those places are getting, busted for lies, falsities, and stuff like that, I feel like I have to question things. Like it's not as easy to say, oh, this is what it is because this is what I've learned. Now it has to be almost like I might have to go to space just to see if the world is round for me to believe it's round, and it sucks. I'm not saying I'm on one side or the other. If you have some information that makes sense to me, I'm going to say, well, that makes sense. But if it doesn't make sense and it's just like, okay, come on, man, that's a little bit outlandish, I'm going to tell you it's outlandish as well. And I think there's both sides, which is funny. Both sides of the aisle when it comes to flat earth or round earth, both have some points, kind of some good points. And then there's some, again, inconsistencies, which is, unfortunately, the information you have to look back on to look at research is done by man. So I'm here to learn.
Okay. All right. So, MC, again, thanks for joining us. So what prompted you? I mean, I'd like to know how you even knew Dave was even going to be on our show. Cause I mean, we kind of just threw it out there, right? I will say this, you got tons of fans, man. Like you got some hardcore, you got to bring MC on. You got to bring MC on. I'm telling you, he's going to tell you everything you need to know. And I'm like, how you, what are you talking
people
about?
really say that?
Yeah, absolutely. They're
I
like,
didn't know.
Yeah, so you had a lot of people just saying that, hey man, you got to bring them on, and in fact they were upset that I didn't bring you on when we actually had to cancel that meeting, right?
Yeah.
And I remember they were like, well, he says that I didn't reach out to you, and of course I did, and they don't know our communication or anything, but
yeah,
I was like, hey man, I know it's last minute, but I'm not feeling good, and those things. But they were like, they thought I just like, oh man, you're chicken, you're scared, you don't want to talk to the guy. I'm like, I'll talk to anybody about anything. Do right and fear no man is my motto, right? So so what prompted you to say, hey, look, guys, enough of the flat earth talk. Let's cut the cheese, man. Let's get straight to business here. So there you go. Like, what prompted this conversation or this live today?
So Flat Earth Dave does lots of podcasts, and typically the audience that he tries to find is people that are easy marks for him. So. But there's a range. There are those that are like, they're gone and they won't even answer me. So I reach out occasionally to people that have him on to see if they want to give an other side. And I've been on a couple. And if they're kind of far into the conspiracy stuff, they tend to either ignore me, they'll just kind of blow me off. Or if I have gone on, they get a bunch of backlash. And so they're sometimes a little hesitant, but you guys, I didn't get that from you. I thought, I bet they'll be open to having the other side.
Well, sure,
present.
of course. Well, you know, I think we've said it, all of us have said it. The other guys that we hang out with, there's like 3 other guys that aren't even here.
Yeah.
And there's more, right? We just have so many conversations, but we are all open-minded, all right? And we're all, at least me, and I'll speak for myself, I'm just on a truth journey right now. Because ever since, hey, that's the law of thermodynamics right there. I just heard it right there. I'm just joking. Is that a tab? Is that a tab? I know I was joking. Is that a tab? Oh my God, I haven't seen those. Haven't seen those in years. That's so crazy. No, but I'm just on a journey for truth, right? And I would say since the jibby jab era, like, you know, a few years ago, I think is when it really, I'm talking about, you know, the pandemic. That's when I think a lot of things in my opinion, and just based on it may be anecdotal, but in my experience where I live on this, you know, on this earth, too many things, you know, have just have been, I think too many things have just been coincidental for me. And I'm like, okay, something's going on. You know, I was a big science. I mean, I love science. I believe in natural science, obviously. And I mean, science is everywhere, obviously. You know, it's measurable, you know, the scientific method. But then to me, there is just straight up the appeal to authority. Well, because they wear lab coats, because, you know, and that's the appeal to authority fallacy, right? Well, because they're the experts. I'm going to defer to the experts. And in the last few years, I deferred to the experts, and I've had friends and families, and even on a personal level, have lost loved ones, have lost businesses, have lost just about everything that you want to check off in life because of the experts. So now the experts are going, like, I don't even know your background, but I'm sure you go into it. But the experts will tell us, hey man, look, there is no flat earth. You know, we went to the moon, just trust the experts because we have the proof. Well, the people that provided the proof are the same people that lied to me the last few years about a lot, and they're continuing to do that. So that's where my hang up is. You're asking me to trust the process, trust the experts, you know, but that's where I'm at. So now if you think that, well, you did say that, you know, easy marks. I'd like to know for you to kind of elaborate on that. Like, what are easy marks for Dave Weiss and the Flat Earth guys?
An easy mark for Dave would be people that have very little technical background, can't think geometrically, you don't have a lot of science understanding. So people that are super into like kind of ethereal stuff and out there, that's one side. Another is people that will just take anything that's a conspiracy theory and just eat it up and just say, yep, that's it, I'm going for it, without really any critical thought to it. Just, you know, if they the nameless, faceless, they say it, then I'm going the other way. Well, that's not the way to do it. That's the opposite of the appeal to authority fallacy. It's the authority said it, therefore it must be wrong, is just as much of a fallacy. You're right. As the appeal to authority fallacy.
And I agree with that. And that's why I'm a big proponent of do your own research, right? Trust but verify, you know, inspect what you expect. All these things that I use on a daily, you know, for my personal life, you know, when I started looking into the moon landing, you know, and I want to get your thoughts on that for sure. It's just the things that I was able to muster up before the censorship happened, because I can tell you firsthand, in 2012 to about 2015, I was able at any moment go to Google, YouTube, and pull up hundreds of videos regarding the moon landing. Now when I go, I'm getting the opposite. I'm getting the why we went and why it's almost ridiculous to think we didn't videos. And I'm like, wait a minute. I literally saw the videos, you know, firsthand. In fact, I have hundreds of them available to me. I downloaded them, right? So it's just, to me, I see the censorship. And the moon landing thing is just one. And then when we got into, like I said, the jibby jab era, there was a lot of censorship there. So I'm seeing some patterns, right? And the patterns are, you know, as we know, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And I see patterns. So this is something where I see a pattern of control the narrative. All right. You can't talk about it or you're going to be, you know, you're an idiot or whatever. So that really just makes me go, well, hold on. But I agree with you, you know, to say, oh, because they said it, you know, I have to disagree with it. I completely agree with you on that, you know, but that's it. So with that being said, if you want to tell us a little bit about your background, like how long have you been doing this, debating flat earthers and and trying to get the truth out there, at least as you know it to be.
Yep. So I've been doing this about 5 years on YouTube. About
Cool.
A bit before that. So my qualifications for doing this is I successfully completed middle school math and science. That's about all it takes.
I love that. That's funny. I was
So-
middle school.
Classic. I need to clip this part. Hold on one second.
So
funny.
I just want to searching for truth, right? I just
Yes,
I want to really highlight searching for truth, because in the live chat, not on the YouTube that I'm looking at, in a different one. So it's in our StreamYard. So I don't know where it's coming from, but Viking Crypto Warrior just said Werner von Braun was the head of NASA. That's a lie. He was not the head of NASA.
No, of course not. He wasn't the guy.
So this right here, hold on. This highlights that Viking Crypto Warrior, I don't know who he is. Viking Crypto Warrior is not a truther. He does not seek truth. He was happy to repeat that lie that somebody told him and he uncritically accepted as truth. He is an easy mark for David Weiss.
Well, it's also well, the way I see that is I go, okay, Werner von Braun was the head of NASA. So what I do as a critical thinker, I go look into it. But he was still a part of NASA.
He was, but he was not the head of NASA.
Doesn't matter. He was still a part of NASA, and
But
the fact that he
now
was a
you're-
German. Well, hold on. Let me finish my point. The fact that he was still a Nazi, right? Is that not true?
He before he came here, yes.
Yeah, that's all I need to know about the guy. What is a Nazi doing in my space? In my space,
Okay. If that's your hold on, if that's your metric,
No,
Eric
it's not-
Dubay,
it's not my
Eric
metric.
Dubay is the first famous flat earther. He is an actual Nazi. He says just literally says that Hitler was not a bad guy.
That's whoever Eric Dubay is. I've heard of him. I think he did a video years ago, 2012ish, 2015. I remember him, the whole flat Earth thing. But
he
I'm not
entered
talking.
flat Earth in December of 2014.
Correct. So, but me, I'm not going to refer to Eric Dubay as the reason why I don't like Nazis.
Okay, well, then grouping Werner von Braun, who was a Nazi before coming to NASA, but wasn't during NASA, with NASA, therefore all of NASA is bad, is equivalent to, and you have to take the same logic, to
Sure.
Eric Dubay is actively right now currently a Nazi and is a flat earther, therefore all of flat earthers. That's what you need to do if you're going to do that.
No, I don't need to do that because again, I don't refer anyone to Eric Dubay. Hey, go listen to Eric Dubay. I mean, I could say this. I can say, well, there's Walt Disney is a pedophile, so therefore anybody that watches Walt Disney movies is a pedophile. I mean, it's the same logic, isn't it?
Yeah. So exactly.
So
crypto,
but if
crypto warrior.
Uh-huh.
And well, it was you that brought up that he was a Nazi,
Yeah.
right? Not me, not Viking Crypto Warrior. So does that matter that he was a Nazi?
It does matter because
Oh, it does.
And the reason
Okay.
it matters
Well,
to
it matters
me,
that Eric Dubay is a Nazi, and
but
he's
I
a flat
don't.
earther.
But I don't look to Eric Dubay for any of my.
I don't
my
look to
flat earth-
Werner von Braun for anything.
But I do look.
Same
But Eric Dubay isn't being paid millions of dollars, and even though Werner Braun is long and gone and dead and buried.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Is
So
that
because there's
Werner
money
Braun-
involved.
Well, because he was actually working there.
Yeah.
Not when he was a Nazi, though. To be clear.
Well, he was a Nazi,
but a
He
Nazi.
was no longer a Nazi.
That's true.
He had recanted.
But
from
being a Nazi, MC, isn't saying he was a scientist. You know what I'm saying? It's like you said, well, he's no longer a scientist because now he's in the U.S. Now he's a scientist. But point is this, the Nazi tag, right? And again, if Eric Dubay is a Nazi as you claim he is, right? I don't know. I mean, you say he is, so I'll just take your word at it. I'm going to believe it until I look into it, right? And if it's true, it's true. But I doubt very seriously that Eric Dubay was involved in the massacre of millions of Jews. I doubt it, right? So he can say he's a Nazi, but did he actually?
What was Werner? directly involved in the murder?
Well, if he was a Nazi, all right.
But was he directly involved?
I don't know.
Indirectly, just as indirect as Eric.
But as far as the actual time, the era, he was a very small minded possibility. He saw some things. Eric DeBay's probably seen the same stuff that I've seen on freaking the History Channel. I'm just saying. But Vernon Verbraun, he most likely, yeah, he probably saw something. I don't know.
Now, from what I've been reading about him, I don't know a whole lot about him, but he co-developed the V2 rocket, which was used during World War II. I mean,
he was a rocket scientist, right? I mean, he was probably him, and you know, there was a lot of Nazis brought over here from the war.
I don't think it. I mean, the whole situation with all of them is. The only thing I can see is that what you're saying about von Braun is the fact that he was a Nazi active, you know, and then went to work for this other guy, self-proclaimed, you know, saying that, you know, I think your point's right, McTurn, is that, you know, he who does that though? Who goes out there, and if you weren't actually actively being a Nazi, why would you be out there saying now you are? You know,
it's not about senseless. Well, Chris, I think it's not that he's saying he's a Nazi. Therefore, just because he claims to be, the Nazis are known as Nazis because of the things they did in history to other human beings. Yeah. You know, and we can all talk about, whether you believe it or not, the atrocities that the Nazis, you know, did to other human beings, Jews specifically, and others, right? You know, in the name of science. Right now, we have elite scientists in America, ahead of a space, you know, organization we call NASA. He's not the head, as you stated, MC, and I agree with you on that. But he was still part of it, is my point. And I mean, that doesn't now. And again, I know where you're going with the logic. Well, you can't say everybody's a Nazi because he was a Nazi, and I agree with you. I'm not saying that. But what I am, I guess my whole point, and the reason why I would even bring that up about the Nazi coming over here, is why would our government bring a Nazi over here, knowing the things that they were involved in? Why would they bring him over here to be the lead scientist, part of a very elite group of scientists that are going to change the world, right? And with their technology and their discoveries and all these things. Why would you bring, if you have a moral compass, in my opinion, why would you bring somebody that was involved or may have been involved, right? Let's just say they were pedophiles. All Germans were pedophiles. Would you want pedophiles in your organization?
I mean, in the United States and throughout the history of the United States, they have not used good judgment doing certain things.
And that's really my point, Chris, is like, it's really, so in all fairness, MC, is like, it's the judgment of the U.S. government is that's the hang up I have. It's not really with Werner, but it's with the government's decision to bring him over here. The government that I trusted, right. You know, and so as I went to look back and through history, I'm like, wow, they've made all these crazy decisions that just make no sense. Well, I mean, it just makes no sense that they would make these ridiculous decisions.
What is this? What is this about? What I don't know most of this stuff, but what is this reference to Psalms?
Psalm 19:1.
I'm talking about a firmament or something. What is he talking about, right?
Yeah, it's I can pull it up here.
Yeah, pull it up. It's a Bible scripture, something about in creation there's a firmament, and so the story is, you know, from what I've read, is that Werner he knew that there was a firmament, so on his gravestone he put that scripture on there, saying kind of like hey everybody, there's a firmament up there. We're not going into space. That was kind of his big joke to everybody. Ha ha ha! Right? Is that the story?
Well, that is the claim. Of course, there's a few problems with that. Mm-hmm. Was it confirmed that Werner chose that to be on his tombstone? Don't know.
True. That's right.
Was it the case that Werner actually used the same definition for firmament as flat earthers would claim to use, or did he use the same definition as firmament as people who read the Bible in German use to mean sky? He was born in Germany. Mm-hmm. His first language was German. I don't know what version of the Bible he preferred, but certainly when he was in Germany, he read it in German, and that verse doesn't hint at dome. It's the word for sky.
Okay.
So
Right.
it's commonly translated as expanse, which is perfectly fine.
Commonly in what translation might I is the question?
There's different translations that use sky or expanse or firmament. Typically just King James and a couple that are directly off of King James use firmament because it was a Latin word that was transliterated. It wasn't, they didn't go back to the original Greek.
I would like to know what the actual Greek translation is, because that's the one that I'm going to actually refer to. Because if you believe wholeheartedly in the Bible and the Scriptures,
the Hebrew, it's actually Hebrew. The Hebrew word is
Hebrew.
is rekia, which means it can mean like it's been hammered out. It can mean sky. It can mean expanse. Modern Hebrew, that's their word for the sky.
Okay.
And things like it says, the Bible says the birds fly in the rakia. Well, if they can't fly in the dome, like they're embedded in it, like that doesn't make sense. So, but it doesn't matter. The Bible, the particular word that you define in a particular way in the Bible doesn't determine whether or not there is a firmament. You just go look to see if there is one. And if you don't find one, then you say, yeah, that's BS.
Yeah. Oh, and let's go and go back to what you said is we don't know if he actually chose that scripture. We don't know, right? Unless he said it's in his will and testament or something, right? So so it's kind of a moot point to even, we can do some circular reasoning in our heads of what was said. So I think we move on from that one, but I agree with that. But that's what that's about, Chris. It's about supposedly many believe he was talking about a firmament, and his MC's saying he could have meant the sky. So at this point, we don't know. We'd have to ask the guy, and he's not here to ask. So
and here Viking Crypto Warrior has chosen his personal interpretation of firmament, which has no bearing on whether or not von Braun chose that, and so he's making claims without any evidence for it, and this is right here. What's the enemy of belief? What do you say?
Oh, belief is the enemy of knowing. Right?
Okay, so here, Viking Crypto Warrior is talking about his belief right here. This is his belief.
And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with his belief system, right?
But it is the enemy of knowing.
It is the enemy of knowing. So you don't. What the problem with belief is that if you believe it but you don't know it, and then you try to tyrannically impose your beliefs on people, that's the problem. And if you don't do it, then you go to jail, blah blah blah. And I'm not talking about this specifically. I'm just talking about that's the problem with belief. That's why I say that belief is the enemy of knowing. But you're right. That's his belief. And if you believe it, it's okay, Viking. Everybody has a different interpretation of that. Nothing wrong with that. I think hopefully we'll get a chance to ask. What did you intend to put on your gravestone? Was that the scripture, and what was your definition of it? But go ahead. So was that the question that you had about Chris? Was like, why are we even talking? Like, what's the point?
Because I was a little confused as to what about that, and then I see a couple of comments in there. I'm gonna have to go check out. I guess a rocket from 2015. I'm gonna have to go check that out. There's a couple things like crypto. Viking
I can address that. The rocket.
Well, I don't know what it is. I didn't want to bring it up on you.
It's easy. It's quick. It's a rocket that when a rocket's going and there's no air, when it's up it's high enough, then in order to change the direction, you're limited. You have to have thrusters to do it. Or if you want to just continue to keep your orientation, what you can do is you can spin the rocket really fast. And so then it keeps its orientation while it's spinning. So the Go Fast rocket chose that. It's a little cheaper mechanism than installing retro thrusters. And then when it was at peak elevation of 73 miles, I think, it has these weights on it. And then they let go of it, and those weights spin out to the side. And then the angular momentum while they're near the rocket versus when they're far away from the rocket, it removes a bunch of the spin. So it's called a yo-yo D-spin. And so when that happens, there's just a little clip of the video that flat earthers like to cherry pick to just show the D-spin happen. And they're like, it hit the firmament. But if it hit the firmament going as fast as it did, it would have demolished it, right? But the video continues after that. And in fact, you can even see because it cuts the cables and the weights, and you can see them flying off and falling down while the rocket starts to then tumble.
Said if it hit the firmament, it would explode? Like, why would you say that? Like, what is the firmament? I mean, what do you say that flat earthers say the firmament is?
Well, the flat earthers have a dozen different definitions for firmament, or several. Some say it's some sort of a blue rock, and they talk about like here was something that fell to the ground that was blue rock, and that was from the firmament. So that suggests that it would have to be really hard. But some say it's some sort of a liquidy thing. Well, even a liquid traveling as fast as a rocket travels would destroy it, right? If you hit the water going at hundreds of miles an hour with a rocket, what would happen to the rocket? It would destroy the rocket, right? If you've ever belly flopped, you know that water is hard when you're moving fast. They don't have any. They just kind of have some buzzword laden catchphazers when they.
What about the audio sound? I've seen that video.
Yep, that's the sound of the yo-yo D-spin.
So that whatever it sounds like suction cup. Yeah.
The two weights.
Yeah, wait. You
go
said
out,
they expand out.
Spin out, and then when they get to the end of it, then they snap on those cables, and that's what you're hearing is the.
Are there other videos of that same mechanism? I've not seen it. I've never even looked for it. But do you have some?
There's just the one. I believe there's just the one camera on that rocket.
No, I mean, do you have other rockets going through the yo-yo?
There aren't a lot that I know of. I think these people might be the only ones that did it.
So we can't
getting
verify
that high
what you're saying essentially.
Getting that high is in a rocket is for an amateur is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, they were amateur. They weren't like students or something. It was like some sort of class experiment or college or some sort of.
I don't know. I think it was just some people they're interested in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no other footage or I would say not of that rocket. Obviously, you explained that only had that one camera, but there's no other clips I could go find of a rocket going through that mechanism with the yo-yo. System.
Well, there's lots of other rockets going significantly higher than that one. That you can. I went to a rocket launch almost 2 years ago in Florida, SpaceX launch, and I watched.
I got a question for you.
All right, just a second. I recorded it. I live streamed it. It's on my channel. The rocket went up, and they separated, and then it came back down. And it landed, and then the other part continued on. So that was higher than the Go Fast rocket. I was there and watched it myself. So
you got it. You recorded it landing.
Yeah.
Everything?
Yeah.
Right, cool. I like to check that out. Yep. Did it land like it on the pad as they always show? Where it did one or two boosters and.
Yeah, just the one. The two boosters isn't as common. So.
Oh, it's just one. Okay, cool. Yeah. I'll have to check that out. When did you? It was about 2 years ago. You said.
Yeah, it was February of 22.
I'll check that out for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So, was that who asked the question about the Go rocket?
It was a comment that was in there that I had to do. I wanted to check that out, but he was explaining it to me. But I have a question for you, and this is a legitimate, serious question. I'm not trying to come across as, but I'm just naive. So I watched these SpaceX launches, okay, and I assume, and this is just me assuming, I assume that SpaceX has highly educated people working for them. Okay. And I would think that in this time, this day and age, they would be hiring educated people. I mean, all the things they did at Tesla, Elon Musk doesn't seem like he's just bringing in idiots. So when I watch these rockets and they're all excited about them and everything like that, but the rockets blow up and they call that a success. And when I watch this, this reminds me of what they did in the 70s. When I was a kid, we'd watch these things and, we'd see the news of, the capsules on fire and killing the astronauts and all the different things that were going on. Like they were doing it from scratch, and we understood that. And we were like, there are a lot of growing pains and a lot of issues they had to go through. But when I watch SpaceX now, it seems like they're doing the same thing. Like we've never done this before. Like they have no clue that this is being done.
Oh, they know what they're doing very much.
But my whole thing is when you look at it from the outside, just an average person, I know nothing about aerospace technology. I know nothing about putting a man on the moon or anything like that. But from the outside, what SpaceX is doing right now reminds me of what we went through when they were trying to put someone on the moon, you know, in the 60s and 70s, when I was a kid watching the news programs and stuff. So now, to me, it just seems odd, because wouldn't they already know most of this stuff? Or is it just so it seems to me like they're starting like they've never, like we never had any data from the past. And if you take a telephone on a wall in the 60s and 70s, now we have a phone in our hands. The technology is always advanced with us. And it seems like space technology like just started 20 years ago.
It took a pause like in the 70s, like 72, 73, kind of stopped, right?
Well, but at the same time, it didn't, because of the fact that they've been telling us all these things that were going on and everything throughout. So, and the space shuttles and things like that. Sure. But that's what, and I don't know if you could even answer that, or if that's even a topic for this conversation, but just being an outside observer from all of this, whether we landed on the moon, whether we did, when I see SpaceX and it goes up and they're, you know, that it was a success when the rocket blows up, to me, it's like, wait, didn't we already do this? Can't you guys do this without blowing these things up?
Oh, and they're unmanned rockets.
Yeah, but I know, but to me, it's like, wouldn't we have already all figured this out by now? We could get the rocket out of the atmosphere without blowing up by now.
What say you, MC?
Well, that was NASA's tech. That was old tech. This is new stuff. So your phone on the wall is different than the cell phone. The Saturn V rocket is different than the rockets that are going up today. How much different? That they're a lot different. Yeah. And there's the things that SpaceX is doing, NASA did not do. NASA did not reuse rockets. Okay. So imagine if you wanted to fly to New York, you got on a plane, and when you got there, you took the plane and you threw it away. That'd be ridiculous. That's what NASA has done. That was all the technology that they developed. Let's take a rocket to space. Okay, throw it away. Let's take that thing to the moon. Okay, throw it away. Everything was thrown away. The space shuttle was designed to be a reusable thing and save money. Being a government project, it was actually more expensive to bring mass to space than Saturn V by a bit, a good stretch. So it in typical government fashion, it was bureaucracy and sloppy, and all the good things that we don't like about the government. So SpaceX comes along and says, well, we're going to reuse these rockets and we're going to get things to space for less money than before. So when they did the Falcon 9, which is the ones that they launch 2 or 3 a week sometimes, when they first did those, they blew up a whole bunch of them. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It wasn't as big of a news as this stuff is, but they did. They tried to land it, it blew up. They tried to land it, it blew up. They tried to land it.
Well, it was like news later on. We got the news like almost a week after things would happen. So
yeah, because it was SpaceX wasn't doing stuff yet. Right. People didn't care as much. But now they've done it. They've figured it out, and they've done hundreds of launches and landings. Mm-hmm. So just last week, they sent 2 different rockets up. Both of them were the 15th time that rocket was launched. So that's the opposite of NASA. NASA never reused their rockets. They reused a few things from the shuttle, but not a ton. So now the new one that they're building is significantly bigger than the Saturn V rocket that they went to the moon with. Mm-hmm. And again, reusable stuff. They're using significantly different types of rockets, engines. They're using methane instead of kerosene or rocket fuel, so that it's they're hoping to go to Mars, and it's something that you can use to get back from Mars easier than if you had to bring all of your kerosene with. So there's a lot of reasons that it's a ton of new tech in there. So
how long will it take to get to Mars?
If you're flying there, once you launch, it's a bit. I don't know yet. I don't think that they really have determined.
Somebody I follow just said that They said what it was.
All right, so you don't even know. I don't even think anybody knows.
It's not possible to know yet because it depends on what they develop. Because it depends on how fast you can go there. How long can you accelerate?
Yeah, how fast? What's the fastest Mach speed that a human can handle? What is it like?
There's no fastest speed that a human can handle.
I mean, like, well, what's the before you pass out? Is my question? Was it Mach? What?
You mean acceleration?
Acceleration. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Mach is a measurement of speed within the atmosphere. There's no atmosphere out in space, so Mach doesn't apply. But it's acceleration.
They do it like light years, doesn't it? Like the distance of
Mars isn't light years away. It's just a few light minutes away. It's acceleration. So you would want to accelerate.
How far is a few light minutes? Let's say it's 5 minutes. What's 5 light minutes?
Earth is 8 light minutes from the moon, from the sun.
Okay, so how far are we from the moon? How many light minutes?
1.5 light seconds.
Yeah, like nothing.
1.3, I think.
So how long did it take us to get to the moon, supposedly or apparently?
I think it was 2 days of travel time.
So it should take us what? You're saying that the moon is obviously the Mars is a lot further, so it should take us a couple weeks to get to Mars.
I think they're talking more like a month is my guess. But like I said,
8 weeks.
If you can load up a ship full of fuel, so they have to be able to refuel in orbit. So once you're in orbit, then you refuel. Then you can boost. Half of your fuel is spent boosting there, and half of your fuel is spent boosting to slow down. And then once you're there, you've got to have a rocket full of propellant to get you back.
Yeah, you gotta literally launch off of Mars, right?
Yeah,
and it's got half the whatever the gravity.
It's got less gravity there.
Yeah. So obviously, there's definitely some things that have to be considered. But I don't think we put a robot or anything on Mars. Honestly, I mean, like I'm an IT guy, right? I installed networks for the last 20 years. I understand, I understand bandwidth and I understand moving data across networks. I understand data transmission and all these things. I have to do my own calculations when I have to engineer out a network and all these things. When you talk about how many users are going to be on the network, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? Boring. Now, with that being said, I just don't believe that for a good reason is, I mean, I can literally jump in. I'm sure you've heard this argument a million times. You're probably going to have a good rebuttal for it. I can jump in an elevator with my cell phone with Verizon and be fine. And I carry 2 cell phones. I also have an AT&T. And the AT&T goes right out. I mean, down to 0 bars. The Verizon's, it's full bars. My point is this. Depending on where I am in the state, in the city, in America, Canada, I've been a lot of places, I can't even get great cell phone service. And I know you're going to say, well, they're not using the same tech to transmit data to Mars. But my point is this. I don't believe we're remote controlling a robot, or what is it? The rover is what it's called on Mars, right? If we are, I don't believe it. In fact, they actually did a launch when they put the rover on Mars. It was all computer generated. I mean, I didn't see live footage. Like I saw the footage of the Go Fast rocket. I saw that footage. I can download it and look at it right now. But there's no footage of the rover landing on Mars. There's no footage of it all. I mean,
do you expect a second rover going to film the first rover land? No.
I would expect them to have the footage of it landing and what they've showed us. Obviously, there's images and types of things. But what I would expect is some sort of footage. A lot more than what they presented is what I'm saying, is my point, right? But even and Mars to me is just another way to get money. Hey guys, we're gonna go to Mars. I want us to go back to the moon. If Elon can take us to the moon, and then all bets are off. Okay. Right. Now I'm gonna rethink everything. Okay. When Elon takes us to the moon, but he's not going to the moon. He wants to go to Mars.
Well, he said something recently.
He's going to the moon.
Yeah.
He's working with NASA on Artemis. And I think the current plan is 2026 to land on the moon.
It was supposed to be 2012, 2015. Now it's 2026.
It's government.
Right. Well,
have you ever known the government to be efficient?
No, but I do know SpaceX is subsidized by the government, so that doesn't help. Okay, so it doesn't help.
So when the government is inefficient, don't Don't say, oh,
Trust
how
me,
come it's
trust me, I
delayed?
know.
You
Yeah,
say
I worked
you
with the
should be
government for many
suspicious
years.
if the government is
It's
on time.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I
Yeah.
mean, in fact, I have many government contracts that I work with, and and having to get them to pay, and they pay. Don't get me wrong. I'm sorry, people, but they're printing money to pay me.
Have you ever
but they
done
pay.
an RFP for a government project?
Yeah. No, I
That's
haven't.
the worst.
I've had to read those.
Yeah,
I want to address this comment here. This is not a good analogy. This has absolutely this is not even remotely what I was talking about. A car crashing in the 70s and a car crashing in the 2000s. That's going to happen. That's not what I'm talking about here. These rockets don't just go up and just crash into stuff and mess up. I'm talking about the fact that they go up, they malfunction or something happens and they have to explode. So the good analogy would be cars were blowing up in the 70s and they still blow up in the 2020s. So that's not that they're going to crash. You can't. I'm not saying that they should learn not to crash rockets. I'm saying, why can't they just put them up there and bring them back without, bringing them back? I think is a great advancement with SpaceX and stuff. But I'm not talking about them just crashing. I'm talking about their data and issues that happen to them that they end up exploding and stuff like that. I'm not talking about, just a crash. You're never going to be able to fix that problem. That's a problem that's going to happen. That's why they're called accidents.
Yeah. Well, I'm a software guy. Elon is a software guy.
Mhm.
So when Elon does a project, he does things like a software guy. So you write it, you test it, you write it, you test it, you write it, you test it. So this rapid development. So that's how he is treated rocket design. Very different than NASA. NASA is, if you look at software development, NASA is CMMI, and SpaceX is, the quick development process, the fast iteration.
But they're getting the data out of these things. So when they do these rockets, and the data is what they're going for, not necessarily the.
Yeah.
So
What happens?
Does Elon have the trajectory data that NASA lost? I mean, can he get that data from NASA? Does he have? Does he not need the data about? I mean, what's that about?
The only thing that was missing from Apollo 11, the rest didn't lose it. Is the original telemetry tapes from Apollo 11. They have it from 12. So if anybody's like, well, they lost it from 11, well, is that enough of an issue for you that you would believe it if Apollo 11 had the data? No, that's a lie. That's a false claim, because it's there for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
So if we're talking about going to the moon and everything, and we all have our different opinions and stuff. I was alive when that was exciting and everything like that. But why haven't we gone back? And what's the highest that we've gone? I mean, like the space shuttles and stuff like that, they weren't able to go. How they just went into low Earth orbit, right? They didn't go any higher. So is there a reason why we haven't gone back, or is there? There
easy.
is.
Yep. Apollo 16, April of 1972, while they were on the moon, they announced to Charlie Duke and the other two that were there, yay, Congress just approved a new thing, the space shuttle. That was during Apollo 16. They did not tell them, it might not have been decided yet, they did not tell them that all of the money earmarked for Apollo was running out. So in 1972, Congress decided no more money for moon missions, all money spent on low Earth orbit missions. So that's why. And so to put yourself in the shoes of somebody at NASA, you need to now, your budget is now ending for Apollo, and all focus is on the other one, the shuttle. What do you do with the Apollo stuff? You don't have any money. You've got to park it. So you park it. That's what you do. You send the stuff to museums. You do this. You put the rocket there that you already built on the stand, and somebody comes back in a few years and builds a museum around it, there you go. That's why we didn't go back.
And I'm not educated enough, but the space shuttle couldn't go
No.
go around the moon and come
It
back.
was never designed to.
Okay. So I never thought that it was or anything like that, but that I can understand that point.
Yeah.
But so what happened? Like, didn't Obama like just stop NASA and everything like that? What is there a reason behind? Because I remember him announcing that they were, it was going to privatize. I guess it was.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Artemis missions. So a year ago, right now, basically, Artemis was orbiting the moon, which is the successor to Apollo. It's 60 or 50 years later, whatever. But it's super expensive. It's government. It's stupidly expensive. It's like millions, hundreds of millions, I think, just to launch one time. So all of these things that they've been doing has been like 20 years in the making for Artemis to happen. So it's more than Obama. It's Bush. It's Obama. It's Trump,
yeah. I was just saying he's the one that announced
I have
all
a
of them.
question, guys.
So-
sorry for my camera backing up. Go ahead. I'll let you finish your point, MC. Sorry, go ahead. You said
Anyway,
Obama.
so these budgets, typical, they get big, they get overrun. The government people, you got a job. You don't need to do good. Your company doesn't need to make a profit. You've got a job next year and you're going to get a guaranteed raise no matter what. That's government. And so that's what they do. And nobody gives a damn about being efficient or quick. So the Artemis missions get big, and then somebody's like, well, we got a budget problem. What do we do? Well, we could fix things right there, couldn't we? So.
All right. So I have a question. You before my camera blipped out on me, you said that they still have the trajectory data, and it said from 12. Everything else, but they lost 12, or was it? What did you say that they lost 12?
The only telemetry data that they don't have the original tapes for is 11.
Okay, 11. So why does Pettit, an astronaut, say that he would love to go back to the moon? And I have the video. I could probably show it. He literally says, I would love to go back to the moon, but we no longer have the technology or the data to go.
Well, that has nothing to do with telemetry.
Still doesn't have
telemetry?
the data. Of course,
You know
I
what
do.
telemetry is?
Of course, but my point, I'm putting this all in a bucket. The data, the technology. All right, so we can pull things out that I say, and let's give definitions. We can do that, but this isn't the conversation, because we're having a conversation. We're not sitting. You're not teaching the class, right? So I got a quiz at the end of the class, right? This is a conversation. Pettit, an actual on payroll astronaut, says, I would love to go back to the moon, or I'd love to go to the moon, but I can't, or we can't, because we no longer have the technology to do it. In fact, the Van Allen radiation belts, there's another astronaut, or actually an engineer, NASA engineer, that states that we don't have the technology to get humans past it. So what's changed?
Not humans. Computers.
Computers
changed. Yeah. You're a computer guy. In the late 1960s, what kind of memory did computers use?
1 second. Memory?
Yeah.
They used
iron core. Core.
Yeah. You're going to take me back to my A+ theory days, but yeah. I know it's different now.
Iron core memory.
Yeah.
I know it's rings of iron.
Sure.
With wires woven through them. That's core memory. You hear a core dump today, that goes back to that. So that was not susceptible to radiation. New memory is basically capacitors. DRAM is capacitors, and it's an electrical charge that's stranded in a semiconductor, but it leaks, right? The data leaks, and so you've got something constantly reading the data and re-injecting ones and zeros so that it's never not refreshed soon enough. But if a charged particle hits that memory, then it can flip the bit. So modern computers have very, very tiny capacitors, and they're super susceptible to this kind of stuff. So when you are sending a computer to space, you need to make it hardened to that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of different techniques that you do for that. So if you look at some of the Power PCs that IBM made back in the the 90s. They had specific power PCs that they designed for space exploration that were hardened for space.
Okay.
So that's why. Then they need to certify that. They can't just send something up without certifying it. So they first have to send something up unmanned.
I think I have the video of that though, because you're saying it's the hardware. The hardware isn't safe enough to go, but I don't know. Maybe I heard it wrong. I'll try to play the video here in a second if I can find it. Yeah. But he actually, I believe he said safe for humans. I believe he said that. I could be wrong.
Because when there's different rules now than there were in the Apollo days. They can't just send something without first certifying it for human space travel. There's different rules if people are on it than if it's no people on it. So if they lose a robot, then there's no wife that's complaining.
Okay, so you're saying your claim is that they're talking about hardware, PC hardware. I saw a comment earlier that says being an IT guy doesn't make me a rocket scientist. Of course not. I never said that, and that wasn't my claim. But thanks for the comment. No, but what I do understand is process, and I do understand. I'm not a software guy, but I have a lot of the guys that I work with. I've worked with software guys my entire career, and I understand the sandboxing. I understand the writing and testing and writing and testing. I get that. I understand that. I'm providing the hardware for them, right? I'm building I'm engineering the actual networks and the infrastructure for them to actually develop on and put things to and you understand the relationship there, right? It's always my fault, right? Yeah. It's always, call hardware guy, call the server guy. But nonetheless, so you're saying that NASA in this video, they're saying specifically it's for the hardware isn't safe to go past. It can't go through the Van Allen radiation belts. So therefore,
it has to be certified for human space travel.
Must be certified for humans, that it doesn't fail or malfunction. Therefore, it's certified for humans. So you're saying a human being can actually go through that is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, it's a little more radiation than you get normally, but it's not particularly bad, and it's mostly charged particles, so it's actually pretty easy to shield.
Okay.
So it's alpha and beta radiation.
Mm-hmm.
Alpha radiation is a helium atom without its electrons. The radiation that we know of that we know is dangerous is like X-rays. X-rays are photons.
We're familiar with that.
Photons.
For sure,
yeah, photons are uncharged particles, and there's no Van Allen belts with X-rays in them because they can't be bent by the Earth's magnetic field.
Do you remember the Orion project?
Yeah, I think that's the name of the capsule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the capsule. Yeah, so that was 2015ish. I think is when they were 2014, maybe 2012, around there anyhow. That's the project, the capsule they were working on that was supposed to have the tech that should have been able to go through the Van Allen radiation belt, right? So with that being said,
and it's been certified. It's been certified now. So
now is that where they're going? Is that the same tech they're going to use for Artemis, and that's how we're going to put humans back on the moon?
Yeah, that's what they did a year ago. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, they didn't put humans on the moon. They
no, but part of what they did was the certification.
Yeah. So, all right, have you seen any of the footage of it actually going behind the dark side of the moon yet? I haven't seen it. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I've been looking for it. I've seen images of it. There's
video.
There. So, and you is that on NASA's? I guess that's on the NASA.gov website. I would imagine, right? I'll have to look for it, but I haven't seen that.
I haven't. I don't have it like queued up or anything.
No, I know. No, I'll go look for it. What is the actual date? When are they saying we're going to put? I know that you said actually earlier that Elon is working with NASA now with Artemis. When are they saying that they're going to put a man on the moon? You said 2024, 25?
I think 24 is the current, though probably will slip, plan for sending people around the moon, but not to land on it with NASA. And then 2 years later is when they're planning to land. So whatever date the next one slips to, add 2 more years plus government buffer to when humans land.
Yeah, inflation and all that crap. Right?
All right. Well, let me explain to you my reason. We were talking about going back to the moon and everything like that, and the reason why we haven't gone back to the moon is because we have found that Transformers are there, and we're not going to go back. So that's my reasoning. That's what I think. So,
they're currently mining the cheese, and we're hoping that they're going to
yes.
wrap it up soon.
I,
So we can
I
go
like
back.
that one better. I like that. You explained it pretty logical and educated wise, but I'm just going to stick with Transformers and cheese. That's what I'm going to go with. So
Here's a comment I want to bring up. I guess this is regarding the Van Allen. Draco Dahi Draco says Van Allen belt discovered in '58. Sure, they hadn't heard of it while the Apollo program was running. Sure, so I guess
But they had heard of it. They did know about it.
Well, they did, but they didn't talk about it. They didn't publish it, right? When did it actually get like talked about? When
It was
like
published.
90 something or 93, 96? I don't know. It's called the Van Allen
yeah,
radiation
you
belt for a
guys,
reason.
honestly, I don't know when it was published, but you guys are the ones that talked about it. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, I mean, in my research at looking in the moon stuff, that's when I first heard about it. I didn't know about it until I actually started looking at it. So,
There it is. Observation of high intensity radiation by satellites, 1958, Alpha and Gamma, J.A. Van Allen. So he published it in 1958.
In '58, and that's what he's saying here, that they discovered in '58.
Yeah.
So they knew about it,
so
right?
we-
So the tech we had in the '60s, in the late '60s, early '70s, when we sent 13 missions to the moon. So we had the tech then, we don't now. So
It's different tech.
Oh, of course, it's different tech.
It's a Model A versus
Right,
a Model
I understand.
R, right?
I understand. Of course, right. And you've seen the LEM, obviously. What is your thing on the LEM? Because you'll see photos of the LEM, the lunar module, right? And it looks comical the way it was.
Have you searched for it without the shielding?
Yeah. In fact, I've actually in Houston here. I live in the Texas area, Houston area. We used to have a model of it here, right at the Space Center, Houston Space Center. So I've seen it up close and personal. Or at least
without the shielding.
With their, I don't know if I don't recall if it had it without the shielding or not. But that
it looks very different without.
So that shielding that we're looking at, right? The thing that looked like it was kind of paper mache on.
They intentionally they crinkled it because of radiation. It's to block radiation.
So that's all to block radiation.
Yeah,
it's on purpose.
It's on purpose. But that's not the structure. That's not. You're not looking at the structure.
I've actually seen it without the because it does look completely different. It looks more.
There you can look at the tab.
Yeah, I've seen this here. Pull it up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Bring it up, Chris. Or
there you go. There it is without the radiation shielding. So that's what it actually looks like. You can see up at the top there, that kind of circular part there with the hole in it. That's where they came out.
At the top here, right, I guess.
The top right is that's where they enter.
Where did they?
Yeah, so that's the actual LEM.
Where did they put the actual the moon buggy at? Where did that go?
The moon buggy was you see those arms on kind of out at angles there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was attached to there. It was all folded up, and then they just basically pull some ropes, or not ropes, they're cables and stuff. But it comes down and unfolds as it does it.
Have you seen the documentary A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon? I'm sure you have, and you probably have your take on that. What is your take on that?
Are you asking me? You kind of cut out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. There's a documentary that came out, I don't know, the 80s, I guess, 70s, late 70s, and it was called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? So what is your take on some of the footage that was released from that?
Yeah, he's trying to do a narrative there. That's what he's doing. The guy.
No, it's actually a lady talking, not a man.
Yeah, but the guy who's in charge of it, right? She's just the narrator.
Okay.
If you go get that, go get the original video of it without the over talking, and just listen to what they're doing there, and without the suggestions. Don't be an easy mark.
Without the suggestions,
right? Go watch it.
So you mean without the suggestions, where it shows them actually putting? I mean, take the audio away, 100%, and you see the astronauts, right? And they're actually putting something over the window that kind of gives it that, and you're hearing them talk back to Houston, right? Hey, we can now say the word. So is that suggestive, or is that actually happening? Because if I take away the
What, that-
narration, right, and I'm listening to the astronauts talking to Houston, it does not look like they're halfway to the moon. It looks like they're just like they're still pretty close in low Earth orbit, and then they put some sort of something in front of the window that kind of gave it that, like, the Earth. I don't know, and I forgot what it was, but it made the Earth look smaller, as if they were further from the Earth. And then I believe they say, "Hey, we're halfway to the moon now," or something. So was that suggestive, or did that really happen, or was that dubbed
I don't know
in?
what you're talking about. How they put something over it so it makes it look farther away.
Fowler, you know what I'm talking about, right? Did you see that? Did you see that clip?
Yeah, I saw the clip. It's just I'm trying to think of the words to really explain what's happening there, but it's almost like old projection, the way film projection was done. It's to kind of make things look closer than they really are. So it kind of in that clip, it looks like it's being adjusted, and it kind of is running across the screen. So you're like, yo, what is that? If this was live, right, and this is technically space, why is there any movement whatsoever? To be honest, because if somebody is showing what a camera is recording, then if someone is moving something in front, that would entail basically means somebody's manipulating something. Now, that's how I just perceived it. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't even alive then, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I couldn't even tell you.
I haven't seen it in probably about 2 or 3 years, but I remember from that clip, and there's other things that I remember from that clip, from that documentary. But so basically, you have the astronauts, right? They're looking out at Earth from the LIM, right? They're showing the Earth, and it's actually if I'm not mistaken, it's if you're looking out the window, the Earth in its entirety is in the window. Okay, it's like it's all Earth. And then all of a sudden, they're like, we're talking to Houston. This isn't narration. This isn't the lady talk, the British lady or the narrator, whoever. This is them talking to Houston, right? The control room, and they're saying, "All right, Houston, we're halfway to the moon." And what you see them doing is they make some sort of adjustment on the camera on the actual. They actually put some sort of slide in front of the projector, and all of a sudden, the Earth goes from full screen to about to like now it's like the like they see the whole Earth in its glory in the window. So one of two things are happening at that point. Either they're lying about being halfway to the moon, or they're lying about going halfway to the moon. I don't know. It just, when you see that, why would they do that?
Okay.
Of course, you weren't there, so how would you answer that? But
you froze. I didn't hear half of what you just said.
Oh, of course,
but
of course.
If you want, go get the video. Let's go watch it right now.
Yeah,
not Cybrell, not Bart's video. He will strike your video here. He does copyright strikes instantly. Go get the original. Watch it. If you don't have it, then maybe we can come back and review it.
Yeah.
Later. But just talking about it isn't going to do us any good.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I'll find that clip. It's been a few years since I've seen it, but I remember that specifically. That made me go, "Wait a minute, what?" Either they're halfway to the moon or they're not, because they within a moment they made that change to the optic, and it showed the Earth full screen, fully inside the window, to now it's about the size of a freaking quarter, or maybe a little bigger. Now it looks like they're further from the Earth. And that's when I was like, okay, something's not right. And then you've got other things they talk about. They're doing interviews and they lost the trajectory data, and, those types of things. So
I got a question. So this has always bothered me, and I don't think we need to look at the clips to find it, is the LIM taking off, and is being shown taking off from the moon, supposedly. This is, again, we're talking 1960s, right? So who is controlling that? How are you controlling it? Okay, we're talking about somebody in Houston was controlling it. Like, come on, like I could barely track some of the stuff. I just got the ability to like do tracking and autofocus with my web camera. So the fact that in 1960 they're able to pan up as the LIM is taking off, and if if that's the case, the camera should still be there. I mean, it's
Well, there's
that
a
just don't-
delay too.
What's
There's a
the name of
delay.
that? What's the name of that fallacy you just did there, Fowler?
Which way? What
The
I
fallacy
believe?
that you just did is called personal incredulity. I don't believe it, therefore it's
He's
not.
got cue cards, guys.
Oh.
He's got cue cards.
All right. So
I'm about to give you some.
this is what happened. You can watch the three the previous times they did 15, 16, 17. They had the rover filming the takeoff. They did not get the timing right on the first two. On 17, they got the timing right. They had to send the pan. It's not a pan, it's a tilt command a little bit before the actual launch.
That's my thing.
So
There's
that
a
it was
delay.
timed correctly.
Do we
They
got
messed
footage
it
of-
up.
we got footage
they
of
messed
all
it
that?
up in 16. Yeah, they messed it up in 16. So go get the video from 16. I don't remember exactly what happened with 15. So to get the timing right, they learned through their mistakes in the previous iterations to get it right. So people say, and these are the non-truth seekers that talk about the cameraman that did that. That's a lie. They didn't look it up. They didn't do their own research, which truthers are supposed to do their own research, right? Then if they hear the explanation and then reject it, well, that's not a truther either. So Dave Weiss, he knows the answer. You know the answer. So just saying, I don't believe it is just personal incredulity.
Well, I think you make an interesting point, because my thing about that was that if there's a delay when when they're doing that, and if they program that ahead of time, and that's the way you explain it and everything, well, I can understand that. But when I'm watching it, that's what I was thinking too, is like, okay, who's doing that? And if it like you said, they got it wrong the previous times, and then they got it right. But yeah, they would have had to send that information to that device or whatever to do that ahead of time.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I guess it's
travel
pretty good
time between Earth and Moon. As
Well, I mean, I
plus
guess if they
whatever
can
else, yeah.
if they can calculate getting on the moon, they can calculate making a camera go up.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, that's of course. I mean, of course you can. That's easy to believe that for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of timing. I understand timing. I mean, I've played video games my whole life, so I understand the timing of making that jump. But all right, so it took them a few times to get the camera right. Then how in the hell did they get the rover landed on Mars one shot in their heroes? I mean, nothing exploded. I'm talking about like, landing it and now it's there. It's freaking taking pictures, drilling into Mars and sending it.
They've sent multiple rovers to Mars. And
We've only
had different levels of success.
Different levels. So the one that we got, right, is the one that's that's there now. How many times did we try to send rovers to Mars? I mean, we've got a 20, 30, 10, 5.
I think in the range of 5 that have successfully landed and communicated back.
haven't they run out of battery?
America. I don't know about others. Yeah. So the way that they often power these things, of course, they have solar, but then they have a little bit of radioactive material, and basically a piezoelectric thing where they have the one side is exposed to cold and the other side is exposed to the heat of the radioactive material there, and that generates electricity, and it reduces with the half-life of that radioactive material. So things like Voyager 1 and 2, their batteries, like their solar cells, are not too useful anymore. They're far away. So their batteries are less and less, they output less and less electricity over time. So they shut down different parts of the system over time to take less power.
Okay. 7C says that there are 3. I guess there's 3 that are in operation on Mars. I thought that I saw something recently that the battery died on the last one, and the final images or something like that. That might have been.
I was trying to Google that here earlier a couple of days ago before our meeting, but I just. Yeah, I was confused.
Of 21 landers. Well, all right.
Of 21 landers, the Curiosity rover, because that's the one that's currently there, right?
Curiosity and Perseverance are American.
Yeah. American.
Tianwen sounds not American.
Okay. Do they? I wonder if they actually run across each other and
No, they're not near.
yeah, right.
Have you bumped into me?
You know what? You know what? That would be a cool shot, right? That would be a cool shot. One planting the American flag, the other one planting the another flag. That'd be freaking funny.
So Apollo, I think it's Apollo 12, intentionally landed near a previously landed probe, and they walked over to. So don't quote me on being 12. I think it's 12, but I can't be certain. They walked over to it because they intentionally landed close enough to it, and then examined it and like pulled off some material from it to see what happens to things that have been sitting on the moon for a certain amount of time.
Interesting.
And brought it back. So somewhere in a museum somewhere is that piece of metal that they pulled off.
So what is your story on, they'll say that a lot of the moon landing rocks are said to have been petrified wood. I mean, what does that?
Didn't do your own research.
Yeah. No, I'm asking. I don't know anything about it. Then I've heard that. So
the claim is, and by the people that make the claim and then stand by the claim and don't do the research, is that the Dutch Prime Minister in 1969 was given they say he was given a space rock or a moon rock. He was not. The tour that went through the Netherlands at the time, they didn't give out the rocks. It was the astronauts that actually went. Astronauts did not give out the rocks. Any rocks were sent from NASA, like through diplomatic means, not just through astronauts. So there was a collection of things in this guy's drawer, including a little placard that said, "Received by the Apollo astronauts, 1969." Also in that drawer was a bunch of other stuff and a petrified rock. Now, that petrified rock was not what the astronauts gave them, but somebody at some time later looked through this drawer and saw, oh, well, this maybe is it, and then put that into a display case. And yes, that was petrified rock, but no, that was not given to them by NASA or by the Apollo astronauts. So that's
that was the only guy that made the claim that it was petrified. Or was no other?
No person actually made the claim. It was a display case of the guy's stuff after I think it was after he died, even that was put together. Okay. So it seems that it was a mistake by whoever did it, that assembled that and put the rock next to that little piece of paper or cardboard that said this was given to him by the Apollo astronaut. So what did he get from them? I don't know. A pen, a little pin, we don't know.
It could have been something totally different.
You got some pen.
Could have been a letter.
You got some.
So, McToon, I got to ask you a question. So, is it? Are you Star Wars or Star Trek or Stargate? Stargate's another one now.
Stargate. Hold on, man.
Not Stargate.
Completely different, man.
Story, not Stargate.
Stargate, but they all speak English everywhere around the galaxy. But we're cool.
Well,
not the Klingon.
Star Trek answers that. Nobody else does very well.
Exactly.
I'm a bit more of a Trekkie.
Okay.
I've been going through the Next Generation with my daughter.
That's funny. I just started it again 2 days ago.
She likes it, but not enough to be like, "Hey, let's watch it." And then she says, "Yes."
It's more of a Next Generation.
Get your daughter to watch Voyager. I'm telling you that with that captain, my family jumps all over Voyager, but before that, they don't even watch the other ones.
I tell you, it's a little bit like, oh, we're stuck out there. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, that's a little depressing.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, Deep Space Nine, I liked at the beginning, but then it was just all politics.
Yeah.
But my favorite character from DS9 is
art imitates life, guys. It's always politics.
Who's the best character from DS9?
Wait, now are you talking original characters? I think they're all original. Who would? I didn't like the replacement for Dax. I like her. I think she was good, but I wish they would have gone a different direction.
It's
Weird
got
how that ended
Dax,
up
yes.
being there. Worf is my favorite character of all of them throughout
Okay.
all of them. So
My favorite from DS9 is Quark.
okay, you're a little bit crazy now. Now it's
Gold
time to end the
Black
show.
Hole
We're done.
and the ears. Oh yeah.
He did turn into quite a character.
Hey,
mean,
I got a question about back to the moon. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
And then we'll talk Star
We were
Wars.
talking important stuff. Okay.
I mean, you lost me at Trek stuff, man. I mean,
Garrick. I'm sorry. I had to bring it up. Someone said in the comments, Cisco and Garrick.
oh gosh,
Garrick
Yeah.
was, you just, even at the end, you didn't know if he was psychotic or if he was serious or what. But
he
go
was
ahead,
an
I'm sorry.
actor. That's all I needed to know. He was an actor.
He's a good actor too.
It's all just written scripts, man. But in all seriousness, so the conversation between Nixon and the astronauts, explain that.
Well, it was a phone call that he placed to Houston, and then Houston patched it through to the moon. And
That's
and
it.
there was a delay. Sometimes people have edited it to remove the delay to make it a little. Maybe I think people not flat earthers have done it to just make it a little more interesting, because that delay sometimes that dead air, you don't want dead air, so that,
Sure.
they'll clip it. If they're like, well, we need a 15-second clip. Well, it's 22 seconds. Well, remove the dead air. So I don't know exactly if that's what happened, but if you watch the originals, there is a delay.
Yeah, that was 8-10 seconds or something. I think I've seen the original.
Yeah,
There was a
and
delay,
I can
like 8-12
understand them
seconds.
clipping that, because back then, when we saw those and we were like, what the heck's going on? I mean,
Yeah,
everybody didn't
why didn't I
understand the
talk?
delay.
Yeah.
They were like, why isn't he answering them? And then it was, everybody was confused about the delay. And then I could see how they were like, we're going to have to clip this or people are going to get mad.
And when they were talking to the Earth, everybody, they know there's a protocol. When you're done talking, you say over.
Over, yeah.
Nixon wasn't doing that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't remember him doing that, right? It just seemed like a very fluid conversation. Obviously, there's supposed to be delay because
No,
if you
most
know,
presidents aren't real smart, and they have no understanding of
I don't think any presidents
communication
are
through.
smart. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
They
whole
didn't
nother.
get
That's
there
a whole
by
nother
because
live.
they're smart.
Yeah.
I get the
Something floats. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
the Manchurian candidates, But okay, so you're giving up some pretty good rebuttals as to some explanations, based on why the moon landing happened. Things were edited. The only thing that we will have to revisit is the documentary "A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon." We'll look at that, and if someone posted the link, Biz, if you can probably send me I can't really pull it up here. If you want to send it to me via Discord, maybe I can pull it up, but or Telegram, but that's really the only thing that you're like, well, you probably just don't remember the clip, and you may have a great explanation for it, but from what I recall, it's pretty straightforward, right? But what do I know? I'm just a crypto guy.
Let me play this that Dave did. I have this little clip that Dave did.
Okay.
Biz is still an admin. I mean,
All right,
Yeah, Biz, if you want to come in private chat, brother, jump online and throw it in a private.
So you want to put up the what I'm sharing right now?
Oh, I thought it was Dave. I thought Dave joined.
Yeah.
us. I was like, oh, Dave's here.
Here we go. I'll add it.
Okay. All right, here you go.
Here's the guy's shadow. They didn't bring any lights to the moon, so the sun.
Wait.
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
this?
Okay, that's the person's shadow. Okay. Right.
Here's the person's
that's
shadow. The
the
sun's on his
video.
back. So
Oh.
that means the sun is over there behind him, right?
Yep. Very
So-
logical.
So he's gonna go to the right. So we're just gonna follow him. We're panning to the right, panning to the right, panning to the right, and now his shadow seems to be going away. Like now he's going to the right. Just turn to the right a little more, and now his shadow's pointing in the opposite direction.
Oh.
That's a problem.
That's not a problem. Here's my kitchen. One light. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Camera. There. Oh wait, are you sharing this?
We don't see it there yet.
Oh yeah, let me share.
So this is your explanation as to the shadows
Here.
being different directions here.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh,
Yep.
there we go. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So there it is. One light. We got 2 pumpkins there. And I'm putting the camera down between the pumpkins. So there it is. Shadow to the right. Shadow to the left. 1 light source. That's not that complicated, is it?
Not at all. But how? Well, you're, I think, presupposing that I guess that's the sun is that close to the pumpkin, or to, isn't the sun supposed to be so huge? Like
it's not to scale. I'm just showing
obviously
how the shadows, how shadows can appear to be left side and right side based on the direction the camera's facing.
Absolutely.
That's the only.
Oh, okay. I got you. So you're just showing because it's the camera giving that optic, giving that illusion, not the light source, right?
Yep.
So
not that there's two light sources.
Light sources. Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing now.
Now, real quick before you move on to your point. So, but what if this is a good explanation of that? But can it be the other? Can it be 2 light sources?
It cannot
At all.
How many shadows do you get with 2 light sources?
You get multiple shadows. Business about. He's in the back.
2 shadows. Yeah. How many shadows were there on the moon?
From that clip, was it 2 shadows, right?
Here,
or one shadow? There's 1 shadow.
Here, let's see here.
Hey, Biz, just throw that clip in the or that link in the. Sorry, MC. We got our guy here with the link here. Go ahead.
All right, there we go. There's
one.
There's 1 shadow there.
Yep.
Just 1. And here he's talking about the number of light sources that you see on the there on the visor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually just, let me get it right there. It's actually just 1 light source. The center one is the light source, and the other 2 sides are just little things that are actually on the visor that you see. They stay there. See that? They stay on the visor. They're actually on the visor. That's part of the visor.
Look at that. I did not see that.
Yeah, I see 1 light source. If you go.
Now, this Dave, I don't know if he intentionally did this, but this is a low quality clip. There are higher quality clips he could have chosen.
Yeah, we didn't really get into the moon landing stuff. I tried to. I really wanted to get into it. We didn't brush too much on it because I have a lot of questions about it. So regarding the light source, I mean, I appreciate you pulling that up, but there's so many other different things, that I have questions about.
Viking Crypto Wars says you got a lovely kitchen table.
I finished it. I refinished it myself.
Nice.
We got it from IKEA.
Do you do woodworking? Do you do?
I do. Yeah. It got a little beat up, so I sanded everything down and restained it and put on that's marine spar varnish on there.
Nice.
That's good. You made
now,
that.
Is that a bench table to the right? I'm sorry. I made
that bench myself.
Cool, man.
I'm interested in the woodwork, but this is great stuff. But
Chris is a woodsman, MC. Chris is a woodsman. That's why he recognizes that stuff.
And those chairs are thrown out from Famous Dave's. They were updating all their chairs. We're like, we'll take them. There you go.
See, now
they don't make furniture like that anymore, man. Honestly,
no, that's a hard wood there. That's good stuff.
Yeah, that's gonna last forever.
Okay, you can stop sharing my.
That's interesting.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
I was liking it. Got us completely off track.
I'm gonna see if while you guys look at this, I'm gonna pull up this clip. What was the one that you said that will give strikes?
Anything from Bart Cybrell. The funny thing happened on the way to the moon. He'll strike your stuff without a second thought.
Okay, I don't have that one. Let me see. Let me pull up this other one.
Well, the one that he sent to us is 40. Yeah,
we're not playing the whole thing. I'm just gonna look for the clip that I was talking about, and then maybe you can address that. So,
McToon, I got questions about flat Earth, and I know that we're going to stick with the moon when this clip he gets us, but one of the things that Flat Earth Dave was talking about, and I am not educated enough to speak of it, but maybe you could understand what he was saying, is that like what we're in right now, like where we live, that and my thing is when when people talk about aliens visiting and stuff like that, I'm always like, okay, but why the hell would they travel all the way here to just check us out? You know, I mean, I always thought it was kind of weird that
A long way.
it's a long way to come to be like, check, probing our buttholes, so it's just, to me, it was always like,
Yeah, let's go back.
okay, it's not that I don't believe that aliens are here, but why would they come here? Who cares? But anyway, what he was talking about is being, I don't know the official name and everything like that, but that, like, if you go past the Arctic, circle, whatever, you go into like a different realm or a different area, and we're not all space isn't that big. We're in a small area. We can travel to other areas very closely and stuff like that. Do you understand what I'm saying, or is that? I mean,
like he claims that there is something beyond Antarctica,
right? Like we're here, and then if we went past Antarctica, then there would be another one.
Yeah,
it's us there, and
and he showed the map where there's a whole bunch of different, right? Purely conjecture.
Well,
Nobody-
hold on. And he says that he says he said let's speculate. So let's not say he's saying that's what. Okay, let's be honest here, guys.
Yeah.
He said if you guys want to speculate, he goes, I'm not saying this is the case, but what if? So
right, and that was my point. Is I was like, oh, okay, well, I can kind of understand that, because that would mean that if aliens were traveling like really short distances and stuff like that, I can understand it, because now it's almost like when they talk about the closest, the closest planet that could have any kind of life, it would take them forever to get here, unless they have some way to do space that we don't understand, which they could. But why would they be coming here? So, I mean,
I don't think there are any aliens that have visited us. So,
I mean, you know what? The thing that someone was saying, and I had a conversation with, we had some bourbon and some cigars while we were talking. They were saying that they think that there are aliens, but they're not aliens to us. They already live on this planet. We just haven't, we don't see them.
That's a good Doctor Who plot.
Yeah. It was one of those things I was like, whoa.
I like Doctor Who.
Well, and I got through half a bottle of bourbon after I started thinking about it. And I was like, all right, that's a pretty good night, man. so, but I don't know. The whole thing with the aliens and stuff like that and flat Earth, do you have any insight that you want to give us on flat Earth? Because to me, I wasn't very convinced on flat Earth.
Well, the easiest thing is the sun could never set. You think about it. What angle does the sun need to be in order to set? It has to be at a negative angle.
Right.
But if it's above something, it's always at a positive angle. You can never have a negative angle.
Well, then can you answer this for me? Because one point that he did bring up that I was like, it was like a, oh shit moment for me, is that the stars are never move. They're always in the same place.
And did he show you any measurements of it?
Well,
we didn't have enough time.
Yeah, we didn't have.
He has no measurements of it.
But my whole thing was that with the conversation that we're having is that at that time was that we showed the video, or someone was talking. I think he had the video about the sun and the planets corkscrewing through the galaxy.
And that wasn't to scale. He was just showing you what supposedly.
And I've seen that. And then it was a kind of like, wait, well, how come the stars never move? If everything's moving away, wouldn't they be?
They do move.
So
so they don't end up in the same spot every year.
Here, I got my screen. I'm on screen here. So here's so what did he offer? He said, let's see. I think
Polaris,
we can listen.
You talked about how Polaris has never.
Let's listen to what he said.
If the Earth is wobbling, our North Star should constantly change. Well, they just have stories of it changing.
Now he's about to tell a story.
They just have stories of it changing. But here's the thing: the Georgia Guidestones had a hole, and you look through it, and there's Polaris. Now, the Georgia Guidestones were built in 1981. They were over 40 years old. That means, according to the wobble of the Earth, that we've moved over a half a degree.
That's wrong. I don't know where he gets this half a degree from. but he complained about telling a story, and then he told a story. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you hard measurements. So this is the Nautical Almanac from 2017, measures the Polaris to be at 89 degrees, 20.3 arc seconds. That's how far it is. 90 degrees is the center of rotation, so the North Celestial Pole. So it's about a third of a degree in 2017 away from the center of rotation. In 1900, 88 degrees, 46 minutes.
Okay.
So it's 1 degree and 14 arc seconds. In 1850, it's 88 degrees, 30. So another 15 arc minutes away. So an arc minute is a 60th of an of a degree. So this in 1850, it's a degree and a half away from the center of rotation. We can go farther back. We've got the Henry Draper catalog from 1900. Again, an additional source gives the same number there, 8846 from 1900, 8846 from 1900. We can go back farther to Tycho Brahe, has his measurement, 1572, has it. And then for confirmation from somebody else, we've got this one here. It's in Latin, 1659, by this staunch professor of theology at Danzig University. So all of those different measurements confirm that Polaris does move, and the other stars as well. So they do move. They don't move fast, but they do move. If you're on a freeway going 60 miles an hour and the car next to you is going 60 miles an hour, are they moving in relation to you? Not at all. But if they are going 60.5 miles an hour, over time, you'll see that they're pulling ahead. That's what's happening. We are the stars that we see are in the galaxy near us. We can't see super far away with our eyes in the galaxy. So they're all moving with us in relation to the movement around the galaxy. So they move, just not much. There you go.
Well, I'm pretty sure you've solved that mystery for me.
Oh, good.
I'm still not convinced. You pulled up. I'm going to tell you why. I'll tell you why. You pulled up a bunch of screenshots. I'll need to go and look at those and see who authored those and where did they get the. Because I could easily pull up screenshots with data and drop dates on it. I'm not saying you're not being honest. I'm not even saying that at all.
mctoon.net/Polaris, or just go to mctoon.net and search for Polaris, and it's links to the original documents. Perfect. And for comparison, Dave gave nothing. He gave only a story immediately after poo-pooing the idea of giving a story.
And again, we were just having a conversation. This wasn't a classroom we were having.
But Dave doesn't have any data.
I didn't ask him for data.
I know that he has no data. You could ask him for the data. The only thing he has is a story about the Georgia Guidestones. The Georgia Guidestones hole is way too large to have any precise measurement. These measurements are accurate to arc seconds, often at least arc minutes. The Georgia Guidestone was a couple inches wide, and so it's 2 or 3 degrees wide when you look through it.
So you said you don't know where he gets what did you say where the moon's width apart, whatever. You're not sure where he gets that.
So he said it should move half a degree in a certain amount of time. I don't know where he gets that. That is not the claim of how much the Earth, of how much Polaris should move. It's significantly less than that. The annual movement of Polaris is about 19 arc seconds.
Cool.
So let me understand this. So
let me address Ben real quick, Chris. Ben, odd you believe no evidence, but double check the evidence. It's called trust but verify. It's kind of what I do. He's telling me where to go look. I'm going to go look. It's very simple. And then I'm going to take what I research and what I observe and look into myself and then make my own decision. That's what I have the ability and the right to do as an adult human being on this planet. Thank you for that, though. But it's
that's the whole reason why he's here.
That's right. So, but keep watching, man. I appreciate it. Good.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that the Raiders of the Lost Ark was a bunch of crap, because there's no way 2,000 years, something buried, the sun would be in the same spot and shine right there. And Yeah.
The sun is different than the stars. But yeah, you're correct. Raiders of the Lost Ark is fiction. Sad. I just watched the new one.
He's good.
Just
See,
last week.
But Harrison Ford's in it, man. It's
He's
got to be real.
he's a genius. But when he put that on,
hold
there,
on.
I think even as a kid, I was like, wait, that didn't move over time or anything? And sun's right.
Hold
there?
on. CGI, man. They made Harrison Ford look, like he was in his 30s again.
Well, that
okay?
dude's face
That
when it
was
melted, man. As a young kid, I was scared.
What is your comments on We Can See Too Far? Because I'm going to tell you, I'm gonna
never see too far.
So I'm going to tell you.
It's never happened.
Obviously, that is it's a play on words to some degree, but there is some truth to what they're saying. Like I have I've done it myself. I'm on the in the Houston area in Galveston, Texas, which is the Gulf Coast, and I've actually seen some ships that have gone over the horizon. Okay. And I'm able to zoom in, 20 miles, whatever it is, and bring that joker right back over. So tell me.
That has never happened. I guarantee you what you saw a ship get too small for your eye to see.
Mm-hmm.
And then not over the horizon. Too small to see is not over the horizon. Over the horizon is
what is the distance?
Blocked.
Partially blocked by a
top,
wave.
Not the bottom. No, not by a wave. That you can just sit there and watch it. Waves come and go. It stays there. You only see part of it, and then as it goes farther away, you see less of it.
So what about? Okay, no, I get you, because the what's the furthest we can see optimally, or as human beings, is 5 miles, 3 miles, 2 miles. I know it depends.
There's no distance.
There's no. I know it's a moving target for who, depending on who you are, how tall you are, on these things, right? And the atmospheric, and all, I mean, what you're looking at, there's a lot of variables, right? I mean, there's no. This is the science to it. It has to be, I understand that. So, but for a camera that can zoom 100 miles, see 100 miles, right? If I'm at point A and point B is 20 miles away or 100 miles away, there should be some observable curvature between me and that point A and B, correct?
Yeah. Bottom up obstruction is how you can how that exhibits itself.
So you've heard of the rail gun, right? What did you think about that story that you would say that
flat earthers lie about that?
Yeah. So, well, I'm asking.
It fires in a parabolic arc.
That's what it does. So is that how they describe it, as a parabolic arc?
Flat earthers claim that it shoots straight and it never bends, but that's a lie.
I didn't hear that claim. I didn't hear that claim. What I heard was that it just shoots 100 miles. In fact, I was actually looking into the railgun probably a few weeks ago. The U.S. actually stopped production of it, right? I think in last year, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was hard to.
It's very expensive apparently because of the wear and tear of the materials and all that stuff. But now they're supposedly partnering with Japan and they're working on something else together. I don't know.
I got on my screen the.
Oh, cool. Let me pull it up. You
can see this is the kind of the fluff marketing version of it.
If I can pull it up. Hey, Fowler, can you pull it up? It's not letting me do it. Add to stage. There you go. Cool.
There you go. So there's the parabolic arc that it's the ballistic trajectory. So
it's shooting up into the air and landing down on its point.
Yeah, it's not to scale either. I mean, what's the actual angle?
Obviously.
But yeah, if you shoot something with enough velocity, it can get far. So it's saying indirect fire 200 plus nautical miles in 6 minutes, and that its height is 85 nautical miles. So a nautical mile is a little bit longer than a statute mile.
Yeah.
So there you go. So it goes in an arc. And then this is from the actual patent application. Again, it goes in an arc. You can see this wavy line that's labeled 610. Mm-hmm. So this is about ones where they have fins on it and like wings where they can like fly basically and guide it as it goes versus just a unguided version. So it's a patent. When you patent something, you patent a potentially many different versions of it so that your patent covers a bunch of different topics. So
okay. So your rebuttal to that would be, well, it's a parabolic arc. It's not going straight. Okay. So so that's it. That squashes the railgun story or
Yeah.
yeah.
That they typically there's a, I don't know where they actually get the idea that it goes straight. I think it might have been just some like a video where somebody's doing some marketing for it. I'm not sure. But it's common. They bring up the railgun all the time. But when you actually look into it, like I did, you find all their talk is parabolic arcs.
You want to bring up those start comments or?
Yeah, here we go. Here's a question. I'm assuming that's for you, MC. Can you name 3 things we learned about the moon that we didn't know before going to the moon? Is this one of your guys? Is this one of your followers? I'm not seeing cool channel name before.
No, I don't recognize 3 things. Well, they did some geology. So there were 2 different types of stones that were named after going to the moon based on the stones that they brought, the rocks that they brought back. They learned some things about how the dust how the dust affects things. And if you look at some of the like Apollo 16 and 17, where they did 2 excursions, their suits got more dusty and their legs are like coated in this dust. So they learned how to time things better. They learned how to what 12 attempts or whatever it was to get the limb launching. Apparently, you know, the command D, whatever command you said, hit the control keyboard, right? Control time, to time the tilt. Yeah.
They didn't do Control Alt Delete, did they?
No.
Is that what you were saying?
It wasn't available yet.
No, that happened in Apollo 13. Somebody, it had a core dump.
Control. Yeah, that wasn't Windows 3.1 yet. So, all right. So we have another question for you. This is from Viking. Can you explain the results when you plot the area of Antarctica on Google Earth?
So I've seen Flat Earth Dave do this. Google Earth is not designed to calculate the area of Antarctica. So when you do a map projection, there's 2 points on a spherical projection that hit. They're the poles. And those poles aren't part of the normal map. It's not an actual like a sphere. Internally, they're mapping everything and projecting it onto the screen. So it's just an anomaly of the math. It's not giving you any woke truth about the universe because they don't do the math.
It doesn't prove anything flat or globe. It's just an anomaly that you're suggesting, right?
Yeah,
I can agree to that. It is because it is just an application, you know, and my reasoning would be they just decided not to finish the code. It's like, why? I mean,
it's I write code, so I understand what they're doing internally. They're doing a transformation, a coordinate transform, and then you're trying to do an enclosure in it. And when you're doing that enclosure, you're having a point that's an extent point on the actual data structure. So you can't do it. You can't put that inside of the area that you're doing. So if you want to do it, you could start right next to the North or the South Pole, either one. They're both the same. Go out to the edge, go around it, right? And then come back down and then go back up to it and then say calculate area from that. But don't include the actual point of the pole in that. So have it go around.
Gotcha.
Around that.
Which is when it creates the anomaly, whatever.
Yeah, you see it shortcuts that, and you see that weird shape.
Yeah.
But if you did individual points all along that to force it to not do that and not include the actual pole in it, you'd get the correct answer.
Okay. Yeah, I don't look to Google Earth for anything factual, unfortunately. You know,
you're not finding some woke truth there.
Yeah, it's a cool tool, and is all it is. I mean, but it's only gonna output what was put into it. At the end of the day, you know, it didn't just show up on the scene and say, "Hey guys, look what we have to show you." So, I mean, I like it. You know, it gets me to the next HEB, you know, a lot quicker than I need to be. So, that's as far as I take it, right? What are your thoughts on the Admiral Byrd? and his claim of a land beyond the wall. Of course, you know of the Admiral Byrd claim and the stories, I guess you would call it.
Yeah. Yeah. Here. I'll share. Oh, it stopped. Here we go. I'll share this. So Admiral Byrd said that there is an area larger than the United States on the other side of the pole from Little America. Little America is the base there. You see.
Mhm.
So there it is. There's the area as big as the United States on the other side of the pole. Nothing difficult about that. Flat Earth Dave doesn't know that he probably just misunderstood it. So I think this is an honest mistake on his part. He heard Middle America with an M. It's Little America with an L. And Little America was a base. It was on the ice. There were several different Little America bases, but because it was on the ice, they eventually broke off and floated away.
So you're saying Byrd discovered Canada is what you're saying to me, or
No, they flew from Little America there.
from Little America. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay.
Past the South Pole, and they're like, oh look, there's a whole bunch more Antarctica here.
Oh, I see it there. Okay.
So
You're talking about where that little red dot is, I guess.
yeah, the dot is the two dots. The one is Little America,
Gotcha.
the other is the South Pole. Yeah, so there you go. Makes sense. I don't know what's confusing about it.
Mm-hmm. It would make. He says about as large as America, though. Would that be as large as the United States, though? That little dot there, probably not.
Not the dot.
You're talking about that. Is that what he's talking about? He saw this little dot.
Quote: There is left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by human being. That's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Little America.
Which is everything that you're showing here.
Yeah.
Okay, I see it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So it's approximate. It's not quite as big as America. He wasn't trying to be super precise.
And this is from the flatearth.ws. What is
Yep.
this? What is the flatearth.ws?
That's a debunking website.
Okay.
So sometimes they use their stuff. They're well researched. So I'm happy to use their stuff sometimes.
Okay. So they're pulling an actual quote from Byrd, whatever, and we can go back.
Yeah, you can get the actual video and listen to him say it, and it does sound like middle a little bit when Byrd says it instead of Little America. But when Flat Earth Dave does it, he actually holds this little mini globe and he points to middle of the United States. And then on the other side of the pole, no, that's not what Byrd was talking about. It's a small point. And I'm sure it's just that he misheard it. So it's an honest mistake on Dave's part.
And the Antarctic Treaty, right? So I'm sure you heard about that, right? Where they're saying, and I agree with the point that there's only a couple of things that all the superpowers of the world would agree on, and that
want to share my screen?
Yeah, is you can't go to the Antarctic, unless you get some sort of.
So here is the Antarctic Treaty. Let's just jump ahead right here. Here's the actual words of the Antarctic Treaty. Article 1, Antarctica shall be used for peaceful purposes only. There shall be prohibited inter alia any measure of military nature, such as the establishment of military bases and fortifications. The military can't go there and do military stuff, but they can do military stuff for scientific research or peaceful purposes. They can't bring weapons. Article 2, freedom of scientific investigation in Antarctica and cooperation toward that end as applied during the International Geophysical Year, which was 1958 to 59, shall continue subject to the provisions of this treaty. So this treaty guarantees that scientific investigation can happen there. It does not prohibit. It does the opposite of what flat earthers claim.
Well, no, the claim is that you can't go to explore, right? At least the claim that I've heard is you can't go without government supervision or a government, the government allowing you. You have to go apply for the permits, and all the nations have to agree, and you go through a permitting process, and you can't take motor vehicles, blah blah, all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah. There are responsibilities to going there.
Sure,
but they guarantee that you can go there if you're doing scientific investigation. So that's the treaty. So the other signatories to the treaty, the other countries, won't stop people from the United States going there. And the United States is expected to follow the rules. So the rules include things like, I think it's Article 7 here. when there are observers. So to make sure that Russia isn't doing something suspicious, United States gets to go to any Russian base there, any Russian outpost, any party of Russians there, and say, "What are you doing? Let us watch." And when Russia goes there, they have to tell everybody else that they're going there. And when they're there, we expect that Russia is going to follow the rules.
And does Russia follow the rules ever?
I don't know in detail whether or not any
So I got
infractions have happened or not.
Are there well, of course no one does really. I mean that's to be determined, right? You know, history is no more than a fable that men agree upon. So in the space station, the ISS, it's an international space station. We have Russians, Chinese, different space organization agencies there. So the thing that's really caught me, I think that's really got me twisted is that, okay, great. You're showing, and I've seen the treaty. I've read it, read it a few times, I mean, it's all there, right? At the end of the day, we're expecting Russia to do the right thing. Yet we're accusing Russia of, what is it? Election fraud, interfering with American elections. Russia is the mortal enemy. All right. So there's some things that I agree with Dave on this part, is that the nations of the world, those that have at least signed these treaties, they only agree on a few things. They agree that you have to take a jibby jab, all right, to commerce on this, on this planet, and you can't go to Antarctica, right, and that we live on a ball, right, and so those are the things that we agree on.
They don't agree that you can't go to Antarctica. They agree that you can go to Antarctica.
Right. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I misspoke. That you can go there with their supervision of obviously, and if you follow the rules, is like you pointed out, right? So those are the things. So we can go to Antarctica and we can go to space, but everything else is off limits. I just find that extremely hard to believe, knowing because
what's off limits? What do you mean everything else is off?
I don't know, land. I can't go to Russia and say, hey, I'm gonna or Russia or China. I've got to get a passport. I got to get a permit. I've got to get a visa. I can't just freely roam around the earth, without a passport, some sort of permit, right? And I know that's just the way things are. That's what everyone needs a driver's license or passport. You need permission to board a plane and everything that's happening, right? I mean, obviously. So I guess my point is that everything is in Antarctica and in space. These are really the only things that these countries agree on. That's where everything's cool. Hey, we're not enemies in space. We're buddies. We're going to share waters and toilets in space because it's for science, right? But on Earth, you're trying to steal my elections. You got to get the jibby jab, and you're my mortal enemy, and this us versus them type thing. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, is it because of science or just, hey, it's or am I, you understand what I'm saying, where I'm coming from on this?
It's just conspiratorial thinking. I don't really care.
Well, with that being said, the conspiracies that I used to think were conspiracies back in the day, right, are now showing to have some truth to them. In fact, the CIA has admitted that they played part in the assassination of JFK. Back in the days when we talked about it, well, not me, I'm too young to have been talking about it, but hearing about it growing up, it was, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, it's just, put on the tinfoil hat. But now there are some truths to that. The jibby jab, talking about the pandemic. And you got to wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. 2 masks, 5 masks, 3 masks, 17 boosters. The point is, it wasn't what they said it was. And so at the end of the day, I like what you're showing me, and this is my point on this, because we have been going 2 hours, and I really appreciate you being here. So I guess I'll bring it to a head with this, MC. So all the stuff that you have showed me, a lot of it is pretty good, actually. I'm going to go back and do I'm going to go look into it. You've given me some links, and I appreciate that. I really do. But some of the things that you have presented have been like, well, because of NASA, NASA has provided the data, NASA this, NASA that, and it all goes right back to.
I didn't talk a lot about NASA.
Well, you claim that we went to the moon, and you showed me pictures.
If we're going to talk about the NASA going to the moon, we have to talk about NASA. But outside of that, the shape of the Earth has nothing to do with NASA.
Well, we get our pictures of Earth from NASA, right? We get our
Not just from NASA.
Well, not well. NASA is where we get it from as Americans growing up. Is my point.
Yeah.
Growing up, there's three things that I remember being taught as a kid. All right, Santa Claus is real, and then I was told, and then I realized it was a lie. We live on a ball, and then we went to the moon, right? And and everything else that comes in within that's in between that. So the point I'm making, I guess, is that I do not trust the government. Why? Because the government has proven time and time and time again. Look, I live in Texas. Okay, I'm not sure where you reside.
I've heard all this. It doesn't matter. I don't care. You don't need to ask the government what shape the Earth is.
No, but the government,
just go measure it yourself.
The government. Well, with that being said, the government is the one that will allow me to fly a rocket, or if I were able to acquire enough money, right, to take a ship to space to see for myself, I'm going to have to get some government clearance. True or false?
True.
Okay, so the government still needs to tell me if I can do it or not. So that kind of just threw out what you said. I do need to get the government
you don't need the government to measure the shape of the Earth. Well, you don't need to go to space to measure the shape of the Earth.
And I agree with you on that.
I do it on the ground.
I can do it on the ground for sure, for sure. You're right. I agree with you on that point. I don't need to go to space to determine, if there's a curve or not. But I guess ultimately what I'm saying is, MC, is that I do, because of the continuing lying and the proof of lies from the government that controls the education, controls the money, controls the science, right? That I have trusted all these years, my entire life up through my adult life. Now when I ask the questions, I am being told you're a conspiracy theorist. You're wearing a tinfoil hat. You're uneducated. You're not qualified. That's what I have issue with, because at the end of the day, I'm going to take, we all have our own life experiences, right? We all have our own worldview, right? It is what it is. I mean, no matter where you are on this planet, everybody sees the world the way they see it based on their culture and upbringing, right? But for me as an American, living in Texas, and I used to say it has nothing to do with the government, but in Texas alone, I have proof without a doubt that the government has lied to my face about local stuff. Locally stuff about my property rights, my votes. Okay. If they will lie to me about that, they will absolutely lie to me about everything else. Now, to concede, I don't need the government to tell me if we live on a ball or not. I can measure it for myself, right? I agree with you on that. And the observations that I have seen for myself, you told me there's no way that you saw, like a boat going over the horizon, or those types of things, or pulled it back from curvature and all that stuff. But I have seen firsthand 100 miles out from a camera that zoomed out 100 miles. I've seen with infrared cameras, things I shouldn't have seen that should have been behind
firsthand
infrared. Firsthand infrared.
From how high?
I don't know.
You don't know the details.
2000,
doesn't matter then.
2000.
You don't know. Get the details.
I'll get the details.
Let me tell you this.
I get the details.
Never see too far. And I will give you this. You get the location of the observer, the height of the observer, the location of the distant object, and the weather conditions of the day. And
all that matters.
I will give you a range for how much bottom-up obstruction there should be according to the globe. And then you go ask every damn flat earther on the globe, what is the flat earth prediction for bottom-up obstruction? And not one will give you an answer for how much bottom-up obstruction there should be on flat earth. None can answer it, but I can answer it every time, and it will never be wrong.
Okay. All right, I'll get I'll get where I was and what I was able to see. All right, and who I was with and camera we used and that stuff. I'll get that details for you. I'm with my line of work, I work I do work at oil rigs, and I was a rig up in Colorado there, so I was pretty high up, I wouldn't say at the top of a mountain. I can't give you the exact location for security reasons, but I can tell you where I was at and what I was able to see, and you can kind of go from there. Okay. But I can get you elevation, all that stuff. Right. That's my homework to get back to you. But all right. So, but anyways, with that, circling back is ultimately, I do not trust, all right, everything that I have been told to trust, thus far, because
don't trust.
because of the last few years, right?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, trust but verify. So
Here,
go ahead.
Let me show you this. Show you this. So somebody said that 2 hours, and they're saying I haven't shown evidence for the globe, and the conversation hasn't allowed it. So let me allow it.
Yeah. In all fairness, for those of you guys watching, we're just having a conversation. You know, we're just having a conversation.
Here is from the cockpit of a plane at 46,000 feet, curved. Top of the frame curved. Bottom of the frame curved. All the same direction. It's not the lens that's adding curve. Some people will claim that it is the window of the cockpit. So
no, I can confirm that
the window of the cockpit
what,
here.
What was how high was that plane?
46,000 feet. So higher than you're going to be on a commercial airplane.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is here. Let me find. Here's in the cockpit, or sorry, in the hangar. This airplane, you can see this top bar. The going across the middle is slightly curved, and the bar on the bottom is straight. And inside the cockpit, he's looking at these two. The top one, well, it's in the middle of the frame there, sort of is curved still. The bottom one is still straight. And then over on the right side of that photo, it's been compressed left to right. When you compress it left to right, straight lines remain straight and curved lines are easier to see. So that's confirming that the cockpit window is not adding curvature. So there it is, a curve of the horizon at 46,000 feet. Here's one at 72,000 feet.
Yeah.
This was from 1935 in a gondola, and it was with a 9-inch wide film in an infrared, and the lens is an anastigmatic lens, which is even better than a rectilinear lens. It's specifically designed for mapping to not add distortion.
Yeah, it takes out all the atmosphere, takes all that stuff. I remember looking at
so there's a couple photographs of the left to right curve of the Earth. So
what about what? Okay, so the Red Bull jump. Let's settle it right now, right? I mean, was he using a fisheye lens for that?
Yeah, that was, well, not fisheye. It was barrel distortion. People sometimes say fisheye when they mean barrel distortion. Yeah, that's not a good. I would never reference that as a photograph showing the curve. Yeah, okay. You need to control for that, and so a GoPro with the stock lens is a bad idea.
Sure.
And so if you've ever seen the Flat Earthers video, they have like a 15-second clip of a horizon. They're like, this is 120,000 feet. Look at how flat it is. Those are always GoPro lenses where the camera is slightly showing the horizon just a little bit below the center of the frame, where it reduces the curve of the horizon. Ask them, send the original full video. They won't. When they won't, there's a reason why. Because the full video.
Ask the guy that, because 9 times out of 10, it's not their video. It's
exactly, but they blindly believed it to be an accurate representation.
I got you.
Right? What is accepting without critical thought? There's a name for that. Indoctrinated. So when a flat earther sends you a clip of a 120,000 foot balloon, and they refuse to send you, when you ask them, send the original, because they can't find it. They never looked at it. They uncritically accepted it. I ask them all the time on Facebook. They never show it because they never looked for it. They never found it. They never were critical thinkers. They're not truthers.
So speaking of truthers, what is your take on I guess the appeal to authority? So you're not using any.
That's the card right here, isn't it?
Well, what is your take on that though? Well, that's your card. You pull up a card, but
yeah.
Like, so are you a truther? Are you? I mean, obviously, your truth is we live on a globe, right? That's what you don't believe it, you know it. That's your stake in the ground, right?
I've personally verified it.
You've personally verified it off of what? Off of the photos that you're showing me now. Plus, you've done your own calculations. I know you went through a couple things that you've done, right? Like the measurements and everything. So your stake in the ground is you believe we absolutely live on a globe, 100%.
I've confirmed that we live on a globe. I personally measured the radius of the globe, And every day that the sun sets, it confirms that the earth is not flat. The sun could never set if the earth were flat. That's that simple.
What is the flat earthers' reason for the earth setting?
They will say perspective. And I've asked them, well, then show me the application of perspective that explains the sunset. And again, they never do, because they only heard its perspective from somebody else. That somebody else didn't provide them the mechanism to apply perspective. But applying perspective is not that difficult. It only requires middle school math. Now, most of us, if you're not doing math, you're going to be a little rough at it. All you need to do is solve a triangle. You put your position wherever you are, and the subsolar point, the point on the surface of the earth where you look straight up and there's the sun. That's always between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. There's some distance between you and that subsolar point, and then there's some distance, if the earth is flat, between the subsolar point and the sun. That forms a triangle. That angle then, that from you looking up to where the sun is, you don't get to there's no negotiation on that, right? You can measure it any day of the year, midday, right? And see what's its angle. And if you know how far you are from the subsolar point, and this is well known, then you know how high the sun must be if the earth is flat. And then 12 hours later, when the sun is on the opposite side of the disk that they say it is, right?
Well, no flat earther believes it's a disc. Whoa, hold on.
Oh yeah, oh yes, they do.
Not the ones that I've talked to.
Flat Earth Dave has a pillow with this on it in his room.
No flat earth.
It's on his app. It's on his app.
No flat earth. But you're saying a disc, as in like it's like this, maybe, right? Like this? Is that what you're saying?
No, this.
Oh, a circle.
Whether or not it continues or doesn't continue is not something that they agree on. The biblical flat earthers tend to say that this is it, and there's nothing past it. There's the firmament and the dome, right? If the dome comes down there, what's past it? There's the dome. You can't get past it. But I haven't heard that. Yeah. Some say it keeps going.
I would most like for me, if you had to ask me, okay, and another thing is, am I convinced? Have you convinced me that we live on a ball? No, I'm not entirely. Now, you have brought up some damn good points that I'm going to go look into. I promise you that. So you have gotten my attention, MC. So I appreciate that. You've brought a very civil, logical explanation to many things, right? And I haven't even addressed probably just the tip of the iceberg. So I appreciate that. But what I believe, if you had a gun to head, it would be, I don't believe we live on a ball. I would more believe that we live on an infinite plane than we'd live on a ball. Well, you go, that's ridiculous. That's just stupid. I mean, well, you're an idiot. Well, you believe we have infinite space, right? I mean, so that's the same logic. You believe it just goes on infinitely. Well, why can I not believe the same thing? Now, at the end of the day, we talk about circumnavigating and all those types of things. There's a lot of things we can definitely have another show where I can probably bring a lot more questions where, now that I've gotten to feel your approach and how, the types of things that you bring to the conversation, great. Cause now there's a lot of questions that I have, right? That I'm sure you'll have the answers to, right? And do your best to answer them. But looks like we had a question up here. I thought you brought up a question, Chris, sorry. But, am I convinced? Have you convinced me we landed on the moon? No, you haven't. You basically explain things away that I'm just supposed to accept and go, oh, okay. And the reason why I'm supposed to accept it is because NASA told you that. NASA published the data that you used to present to me, and NASA is who I do not believe. Why? Because of the history of NASA. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this for next time.
Okay.
And don't give me the answer now. What would you accept that is a reasonable level of expectation as evidence that we did go to the moon? Now, don't answer it now. Just ponder that.
Good one. That's a good question.
So that we can, because if the answer is nothing, then you're
no, of course not. No.
You can't have a conversation with somebody.
Of course. If I was absolutely staking the ground, MC, that this is it, and then I wouldn't have you here talking to you. Obviously, I'm looking for the truth. I'm seeing comments, that I haven't done my research, and no, I've been listening to both sides for the last 5 years. Okay, and there's arguments on both sides. All right. And there are things that I've seen that things that could be proof that we live on a ball and proof that we live on an infinite plane. So I'm just looking for the truth. So I will bring that to the next live that we do for sure. And so, I won't have a problem doing that. And as far as the moon landing, which is because there's two questions, I would say, right? Proof that we landed on the moon, and the other question would be proof we live on a ball. All right. I need very simply two things, and I'll bring that to the next live, and I'll be like, it's a wrap. It's over. I'm done. I'm back in the globe camp. All right. I'm not there yet.
I don't think you're ever going to be in the globe camp.
No. I mean, well, Chris, if you recall, Chris, I said all I need are a couple of things to see, and I have yet to see them. You did. And I've yet to see them. Right? To show me, it's very simple, MC. NASA could do this with a third of the budget they get daily. Okay, they can shut Kryptonian down in a second, but they don't. You know why? Because they don't think it's worth it. The problem is they think I'm the minority here. No, people are beginning to ask questions every day. Now, it's another and last thing is this. I remember when Flat Earth started to get censored, around 2012 to 2015. It's like, what the hell's going on? It's just fun. This is a fun conversation. People are just Googling it. And all of a sudden, they started coming out with some disclaimers on Google. Fake news. And then all of a sudden, they have the Wikipedia.
All my videos get it too.
Do you get?
Well, anytime you talk about Flat Earth, of course. And my point is this.
I wonder why.
Yeah, that it's all about.
Seriously, I'm legitimately. Why do they do that?
Because they have to control. They have to control the narrative.
Advertisers don't want to advertise in front of conspiracy theory stuff. That's why.
No, I don't believe that.
YouTube has to pay the bills at the end of the month, every month, and if advertisers say, I do not want my ads in front of this, then YouTube has to do something so that their ads are not in front of those people.
Yeah. I mean, that's a cool story, as Dave White would say, but I don't believe that because I would tell you this. Back when Trump was running for president and he started calling, CNN and Fox News and everybody else fake news, that's when those things hit the scene as far as YouTube. It started with the political stuff, and then it moved over into, maybe it happened at the same time, to the flat Earth. And then when COVID hit, pandemic, the Fauci-ouchies, I like to call it, when that hit, that's when it really got prevalent. And I'm like, now I see a pattern. And remember, I talked about the very beginning of this. It's about patterns. And so with all that being said, the reason why I'm not ultimately convinced is because you have presented some science, which I appreciate, which I will look into. I can go measure, test myself. Great. I mean, that's good stuff. And then you've also presented some information that was provided by, from history, right? And history is nothing but a fable that humans agree on, as we, that's how it is. I'm going to go look into that. But at the end of the day, I have to look at where the source is coming from. And you mentioned the word indoctrination. Well, we have been indoctrinated since birth, at the end of the day. So I have to go and I have to just trust but verify. And that's what I'm going to go do, right? So, I mean, I think you did a great job, MC, of like I said, I really appreciate you, coming up here and saying, hey, man, I got something for that. Here you go. Boom, pap. I mean, you're right on the money for that. And I really appreciate that. And I didn't know what to expect, but you definitely delivered. So thank you for that. I look forward to the next conversation because I will give you my two things that I need and watch you freaking have them. Well, here it is. Boom, boom. Go to my website. Go ahead.
MC's like I'm more on what he's saying. I like Flat Earth Dave. I like him. I think he's a great guy. He's got some good information and everything like that. But MC just I agree with the things that he was presenting and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, but that's just me sitting here.
Well, yeah. just for clarity, I'm not on anybody's side. I'm on my own journey here. So this isn't, hey, I'm on the flat.
I'm on your side.
I'm not on the MC camp. I'm on the Kryptonian.
I'm on Kryptonian side.
Tired of the and I appreciate that. Tired of the governments, not just ours, but others. And he's gonna pull the card up. The authority goes the cue card. What fallacy? I've got to give me some of those, man. That's freaking cool, dude.
It's
I don't understand this comment here. So
where'd you get that? It's Amazon. I gotta get it.
Critical thinking cards. Your logical fallacy.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it.
What does this mean? Creationists, moral majority,
I can explain
Tea
this.
Party, flat earthers, mega. So what does politics have to do with what we're talking about?
Well, there's a large overlap. Flat earthers and some particular politics overlap, but it tends to dry up pretty quickly because when Trump was running for re-election, one of the things that he talked about was going back to the moon, putting the first woman on the moon, and going to Mars and putting people on Mars. That was some of the things he was campaigning on. So flat earthers quickly jump ship there.
I don't understand. I never equated like flat earth or any of the things that we're talking about with any kind of political party one way or the other, right?
The Venn diagram of flat earthers is very much inside some of these political parties too.
And to me, like if you're in that camp or whatever, if you're a flat earther and you're mega, because you're not a very critical thinking person. The way I would see it is that if I'm talking about flat earth and whether we went to the moon or not, I don't even care who politics are.
Politics matters nothing to me when it
none of that has anything at all to, because honestly, I don't trust any of them, and they're all probably lying to us one way or the other. So,
I get.
This one by Michigan Woodsman, the most recent. This happened. This did happen. There was a congressional hearing on conspiracy theories, and they brought in a few people, including Facebook guy. What's his name? Why am I forgetting his name?
I don't even know who Facebook.
Anyway, the Facebook guy, they brought him in, they brought others in. They're like, they're saying conspiracy theories are going wild on your social media. What's going on? And they spoke about flat earth as kind of it's the pinnacle conspiracy theory, because so many things, you have to accept so many other things before you get to flat earth. So they use it as the scapegoat sort of.
What do you mean? So here goes some straw mans. Well, you have to accept so many what? Go ahead.
So many other. It's not quite the end of the line, but if you line up conspiracy theories from the ones that have been outed as true, like Nixon, Watergate, right? JFK. That was a conspiracy.
JFK.
And then to the ones that are on the edge. JFK is, but you move. There's a spectrum. There's a book by Mick West that he covers this, and flat Earth is on the far end, and there's just a couple more past it, like shape-shifting lizards are actually in control.
Joseph straight of that one, yeah.
So
no.
Anyway, that's why they use
all this stuff. Though this is where the problem lies, and this is I'm old enough to see this stuff. Is that if somebody's going to talk about something, how is anything controversial? That's my point. If you got people that are flat Earth, great. If you got people that believe this, great. What is the problem when they do these things to basically shut down or monitor anything like that? That's when it becomes a huge conspiracy. That's when people start thinking about it.
So Congress didn't force them to do anything they can't. The First Amendment prevents them from doing it. They can ask them, right? Congress can ask any questions they want. They can say, what are you doing? They can say, we don't like it, but they can't stop anything. That's beyond their ability. And that's what happened from it.
Wait,
but I think
you really believe Congress can't force things or make things happen? Did I just hear you say that?
The First Amendment prohibits Congress from telling Facebook to not do something or to do something on their platform. So
right?
Does the First Amendment prohibit it?
It's supposed to, in theory. If you want to talk about theories, it's supposed to. It's written down.
You got a whole conversation there because they actually can't technically say it, but they can push them in that direction and let the court figure it out.
How do they push push it into that direction? Just top of your head. How do they push things? How do they get things that they want?
Well, they do it and ask for permission.
Yeah, you bring them in, and you say, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, right.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
But they
What do you
did
know?
not force them. So to be clear, they didn't force them. And so was it that action, or was it advertisers? Was it the dollar? Because let's be honest, Facebook guy he's about the dollar.
Zuckerberg. Yeah.
Zuckerberg, there you go. He's about the
But
dollar.
the
That's
whole
what he
thing
wants.
with
And when advertisers say, "Hey, we got a problem," the dollar speaks.
right,
course,
and
of course.
and ours right. I mean, it all comes down to the dollar. But the part that bothers me about it is that even some of the things that they're doing now, it's like senseless. It doesn't make any sense. But when there's conspiracy theories, I just wish that someone would come out and legitimately like stop it, whatever. So that, because when they hide it and they try to, control it and everything, it just grows like wildfire, man. Just leave it alone.
Well,
What
we
do you
know.
mean stop it? Like you mean address it? Like, oh,
Well,
look,
well,
this
listen,
is about.
you can have your opinion about flat Earth, and you can have your opinion about the globe and all that kind of stuff. You can have all these opinions, and that's fine. And then you have total conversations about it and everything like that. But when people get it mixed up with politics, and they get it mixed up with censoring people and then putting stuff on certain lists. So if you believe in flat Earth, then they're going to censor you and stop it. Wait a minute. To me, the average person is just sitting back going, I don't care much about flat Earth, but wait, why are they censoring that thing? Oh, because the advertisers are what you're saying and everything. But to me, I'm sitting there going, who cares if they say it? I don't care. But when they start censoring or when they start regulating or whatever, that's when my ears perk up, because all my government work
no regulations though.
But all my government work tells me that everything that the government ever does is to hurt its own people. And that's all governments, not the one we have, but all governments. And when they come out and do things like that, that's when my ears perk up and go, why are they doing that? They don't have clear intentions like, we just want to make everybody healthier and happier. So I wish they would just stay out of it, honestly.
Hey MC, what is, you probably know more than I do, is NASA or the space agency for America, NASA, is that an arm of the military? No, at all. They have no ties with the military whatsoever.
There is a Space Force.
Now there's a Space Force, right?
Which is, I have an emblem that I got at our surplus store. So that was mostly Air Force and Army things that got split off into a separate department. But no, NASA's not military. And everything.
Does the military rely on NASA for anything for military operations?
Yeah. Because so the military needs a satellite put up, they go to NASA or SpaceX now to put up a satellite.
Okay, so
as an example,
so there's still a connection there, right? But SpaceX, right? SpaceX has no ties to the U.S. military. I mean, I think it's safe to say that supposedly it's a privately owned company, subsidized by the government. But NASA is completely government funded, or taxpayer in other ways, obviously, donations or whatnot. But so if you got SpaceX over here, who's completely private, no ties to the military that we know of, right? That we know of. I'm not saying that they are, guys. I'm not trying to start up a conspiracy. But then you've got NASA, who is, you're saying, it has nothing to do with the military. Yet both space agencies, SpaceX, or I would say SpaceX and the military, both rely on NASA for data. True? Is that true? Is that a true statement?
For data,
for data, right? Data, right? I don't know. When to? I guess Elon, for whenever he needs to get clearance to fly astronauts to the space station, right?
Sure, yeah,
okay.
Well, if they're bringing astronauts to the space station, they're doing it from a NASA base too.
NASA base,
Cape Canaveral, yeah.
Okay, so I guess the point I'm making is that NASA, all right, still has its finger in the jar of the military. There is no, I don't think we'll ever see a concrete, here is the document that shows that NASA reports or military reports to, vice versa, right? I don't think we're going to see that. But I guess the point I'm making, and I will end it with this, is that the military, right, especially, the United States military, wants to be the biggest and baddest on the planet, right? They're going to get all their data about what's going on above low Earth orbit or above or higher, so they can watch our enemies or whatever. So they're going to rely on that data from NASA, right? So with that being said, NASA can tell the military whatever the hell they want, and we're hoping that it's the truth and it's with, it's honest data or whatever. And there's nothing malicious going on there. My point is that, again, it goes right back to the very beginning of this conversation. I don't trust NASA. Why? Because of how it got started, and we talked about the Nazis, right?
How did NASA get started?
Well, I'm talking about how they brought in, Operation Paperclip or whatever it was. They brought in some of the Nazi rocket scientists, and now they
But that's not how they got started. That was after.
Well, I know it was after. My point is, it's still part of the story. It's still part of the timeline. There's still, you can't exclude the fact that some prominent rocket scientists, people that were prominent in the Nazi, in Germany, Nazi Germany, are now part of NASA. I mean, you can't forget that. You can't just shove that under the rug. Considering, there we go. Which one is it?
You got genetic fallacy.
Genetic fallacy.
Yeah, that's that's not the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for poisoning the well. That's what you're doing.
Well, I'm not making any claims here, though, man. I'm not.
You're still just poisoning the well, is what you're doing.
Well, the well was already poisoned whenever they brought over a Nazi. So
no, you're poisoning the well. Talking about
how is that possible? Because I didn't bring over the Nazi. That's
definition poisoning the well. They're lying because at one time they brought in a Nazi.
Oh, but it's not just one time though they've lied. It's not just one time they've lied.
No, you didn't establish when they lied. All you're saying is they lie because at one time they brought in a Nazi.
Well, then let me then say this. Then let me establish the time. They lied when they brought in the Nazi. How's that?
What Nazis? They lie about?
Well, the Americans didn't know that was happening until after the fact.
but what was the lie?
I guess the lie is, hey, trust us. The government is all for your best interests. There you go.
When did they publish that? And
I don't know.
In relation to NASA.
Well, it's not about again. They're not going to publish those things. Obviously, they're just going to, as we can both agree on, the government just does things. True or false? And we find out after the fact.
They just do things.
They just do things. They will pass a bill before reading it. Okay. That is the government. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's my point. So that's the same mentality, the same process. They've done that now that they have done then. So,
let me show you this right here.
You ready?
Yep. Dave brought this up here. You see that?
Okay.
That was on your show.
Okay.
So now, which one of you asked him to elaborate on how they founded NASA?
Again, there was a conversation, not a classroom. Like, hey, I need to take notes on this. Show me the references. So
let me just be clear here. Yeah. NASA was founded in 1958. L. Ron Hubbard, no involvement with NASA. Walt Disney, no involvement with NASA. He did a documentary in 1955 before NASA was existed with Werner Braun. Werner started in 1960, 2 years after NASA was founded. Jack Parson retired from JPL in 1944 and never worked again in JPL and died in 1952, 6 years before NASA was founded. Aleister Crowley, no involvement with NASA. So all of this, this is essentially what you're doing. This is poisoning the well. None of it was true when Dave said it. Mm-hmm. And what you're saying about it isn't.
I haven't mentioned Aleister. I haven't mentioned Aleister. I haven't mentioned Jack. I mentioned Walt Disney one time about being a pedophile, but I haven't mentioned Ronald. You did. So again, you're poisoning the well. You're poisoning the conversation that I'm having with you because I haven't mentioned any of these guys. This guy said it.
I'm giving you another example of poisoning.
This guy said it on my show. Right, or our show, right? He said it on our show. Doesn't mean that I said it. So let's kind of take a step back here for a moment. All right, let's be honest here. So I understand why you're bringing it up. I'm not poisoning any well. I haven't mentioned any of these guys. You did. So again, I'm talking about Werner is the only guy. Werner is the only guy that I've actually talked about that you have. He's an ex-Nazi. You've confirmed that. The government has confirmed that. That's all. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters to me, because based on my research about the Nazis that we have all grown up with, and it, you know, we all believe it to be true, right? Is that they were some pretty bad guys at the end of the day in the name of science, period. All right. Killed millions of people. Now, this guy is the guy that was a part of that organization is now part of an organization that is supposed to bring just, I don't know, a major accomplishments to humanity. I just don't understand that. It's not for you to answer. All right. But this is where I am. This is the hang up for me. If they brought this guy in, who else did they bring in? If their judgment is that bad and clouded, what else have they done? And I can actually point to many things they've done since then that has shown to me the government has clouded decision-making processes, and their reasons for things are, we don't find out till after the fact, and we can go back to the jibby jab. My point is that I didn't poison any well. You just did that right now, bringing up this clip. And I did ask you if you wouldn't do that. I don't want to bring up Dave Weiss. This is a conversation you and I are having, you know, at the end of the day. Again, when he brought that up, I'm sure if I had asked him exactly what you want me to ask him, hey, whoa, hey, wait a minute. Prove to me that these guys are part of NASA. Where's your sources? He may or may not have, according to you, he's not going to have any proof of that. Well, that'll be a conversation I'll have with him next time, right? If I get a chance to. But at the end of the day, I am not stating that all those guys were the founders of NASA. All right. I'm talking about the von Braun guy. That's the only guy that I've brought up. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. All right. Now, you've admitted, I have admitted or conceded that he was a Nazi. That's my hang up with the government, who actually allowed this guy to come in and be a part of NASA. And now NASA is also the arbiter of truth for all things space, right? For the military, for other organizations around the world. I have a problem with that because of how they started. I have to go back to the origins of things. At the end of the day, I'm going to go back to the origins of everything, and I'm going to go from the start. Unless you're going to tell me, but things are better now, Kryptonian. They lied that one time, or they kept it from me that one time, but everything else is cool. You know, everything's cool now. You know, we're good now. We're good. You know, because of space and stuff. I can't get to that. I can't get there yet. I'm not there yet.
I still haven't heard where they lied.
NASA?
Who lied? Not
Yeah.
NASA?
Yeah. Where did they lie?
Oh, I've seen I've actually seen videos in the 80s of where they were supposedly showing, what was it? One of the shuttles. I remember the Challenger, right? Everybody remembers the Challenger, right? But I remember there were some videos from the 80s. I remember seeing it where it actually shows a clip of, it looks like a 3D model or something. Supposedly it's supposed to be the shuttle opening up, the capsule's opening, or the bay's opening up, and a satellite's coming out of it. I'm trying to remember the actual clip. But there's an actual, you can see a man's face in that, right?
Yeah, it's a reflection in the window.
Yeah, reflection in the window. Yeah, I guess that's what it is, right? Or it's a camera. Well, they're saying
it's a camera filming out through the window, and there's somebody next to the camera, and you're seeing the face of that person
of the reflection. That's the official story, right? Right. That's the official story, right? From NASA. I'm asking.
So where did they lie?
And another thing, so it starts with that one, and then it goes.
But that's not a lie.
Well, let me get to my point.
And the other said it's a lie.
This is where hold on. I'm sorry. Okay. Let me clear things up. This is where I started looking into all the footage of NASA's when I saw that. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, reflection, right? And then I started seeing things about the wires in space, whatever. They're floating in the space station. You can actually physically see wires on a lot of these guys. I've seen them. What appears to be me. Well, you're saying no, but were you there? Were you there?
You're saying yes, but were you there? Were you there is not a valid anything ever.
Were you there?
Don't
Don't
say were you there.
Then don't say no, because you're doing the same thing I'm doing. Right?
I've seen all of those videos, everyone that Dave Weiss loves to play, everyone that the Flat Earthers paste on Facebook every stinking day. I've seen them all. When the guy flips and his pinky gets hooked on the pocket, there's a wire to the microphone, and he flips. And if he flips, that wire to the microphone that's in his hand goes with him, would wrap around the wire that's holding him up. But it doesn't.
And that happened on all the other videos that I've seen that's happened.
You know,
it's the wire.
One thing I have to say is that I've listened to you guys go back and forth, and when we had Dave on and everything like that, and I'm pretty much I stay out of this mostly, but I've never seen so many hateful people in the comments, man.
Oh yeah.
I've
Oh,
never seen
you
it.
know what? In fact,
If you say anything at all, sometimes I'll see stuff about MC, but I'm telling you, man, I've never seen so many hateful.
well,
people
that's
in my
what I was
life.
saying at the very beginning, Chris. I mean, he
Wow.
has some fans. I remember I had some guys trying to engage me in some conversations about my conversation that we had on our live, and there were some pretty, you know, they were like, I wouldn't say hateful, but they're obviously they have a disdain for people that don't believe what they believe.
I don't think it's a
You know?
disdain, dude. If you read the comments and you go through there, these people, these people are like, if you don't agree with them, they're
yeah,
shit.
you're basically you need to be put to death or put down essentially.
Well, I
the
don't think
Nazis,
they want to kill you,
like
but they're
like the Nazis would
no.
do, right? No, of course. I'm just
You
kidding,
don't want to
but
go there, man.
yeah.
I have a collection of people that want to murder me.
Who,
That's
man?
crazy.
How?
That's crazy. It's just a conversation.
You want me to show them? I'll pull them up right now.
It wasn't me, man. It wasn't me.
I have a folder of them.
Yeah, that's uncalled for. At the end of the day, if you don't believe
Astro Rex, you got a few of them in there, but at the same time, I mean, they're not. Yours weren't really that bad.
yeah,
but
look,
These are from
I'm just one man
put
on
'em
my
up on the
own
screen.
truth, right? My journey for truth. And just because I don't believe what you're spitting out to me doesn't mean that you can just, you know, that's the end of me and, you know, put me down or whatever.
I mean,
let me discover on my own. At the end of the day, I mean, same thing with MC. I mean, he has his reason. He told me about 20 minutes ago, MC, that you absolutely you know that we live on a globe because of your own observations.
Myself.
Yeah,
So,
he's verified
here,
himself.
I'm sharing this.
Go ahead.
Show the screen here.
hold on a second. Wait, don't put up anything that.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
All right. If we don't read it out loud, it's.
1 second here is NR says MC is saying trust NASA is what you're saying, right? No. And Kryptonian saying I don't trust NASA. Neither can prove NASA is trustworthy, and that's the point I'm making.
I'm saying show where they lied, and I don't get those. So anyway, this is one guy right there.
Anyone who listens to should I read it
don't
okay.
Holy smokes, man! Jesus.
Oh man, look.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. At the end of the day, when MC and I were going to have a jump on a live a few days ago, he showed me how human he was. He says, "Hey man, I can't do this day because I'm making pumpkin. I can't do this particular time because I'm going to be making pumpkin pie." He didn't say, "Be right there." At the end of the day, he tells me he's got a life. He's got a family. He's going to spend the holiday with himself. We may not agree on anything, or I mean, I agree with you on some things, you know. But we may not absolutely agree on everything. But that doesn't mean that we're not both humans sharing space on this planet. Whether you think it's infinity flat, or a disc, or a ball, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're still sharing the same life experience.
What do you got? What do you got leaning against the wall there?
We're at
Behind you there. Yeah, that side.
that is an Tavor X95.
I don't know what that is.
It's a bullpup. It's a bullpup AR-15, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know too much.
Oh, okay.
I don't have an AR. My kid has a bunch. So.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I have you know one or two.
We're good there.
Well, there you go. But at the end of the day, man, I really appreciate you coming online. I mean, again, you didn't move the needle to the ball side. And just for the record, I'm not making any claims. That would be a logical fallacy to claim that, you know, I shouldn't have to prove anything. I think I saw some comments. Well, if you don't believe in this, then you must show a model. You have to. What's your model? What's your theory? At the end of the day, I haven't made any claims. I'm just saying that I don't believe the claims that are being presented to me by, you know, the NASA, right? And that's where I'm going to start because that's where it started. That's where my journey started, is with NASA. It may not end with NASA, obviously, because
that's the whole
Yeah.
point. Is that the reason why McToon is here and Flat Earth Dave and stuff like that was because they're the last people I'm going to go to ask them about that. I would rather talk to these guys because I could actually be on the same level as to have a conversation with them, and they can bring points and things like that because. You know, I've done a lot of government work in my time, and Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's people out
I've
there.
paid a lot of money to government in my time. So
Yeah, and there's
you
a
know,
lot
so
of people out there
we
that
both
would that do work with the government that feel the same way. It's like, God, man, I wish they'd just be a little bit different, you know. But
Government contracts are they're the worst.
Jesus, man. You know, a lot of my business is oil and gas, so you can understand where, you know, me being in Texas, so you can understand the things that I have to deal with. But you know, with that, MC, I appreciate you being online. Hopefully you come back on again. I will bring my questions for you, like, or not my questions, my requests as to what I need to be able to be a believer once again, right? I'll bring those two things, one for the moon and one for the ball.
Yeah,
the ball Earth.
Make sure that the moon. Make sure both of them are reasonable things. You know,
of course they absolutely. I think
I've heard people say they need to do. NASA has to do this. Like they're not going to do that for you. Something,
you know, I like the stuff that, I mean, I have that, I go to that NASA channel and stuff like that. Listen, I'm not sure. I'm not smart enough, educated enough on all that kind of stuff, but I do like the pictures that they show and stuff. They have like a screensaver thing and everything. You know, if that's CGI, whatever, whatever it is, I enjoy it.
Probably is, right? That's I don't know. Depends on what they're showing.
At the end of the day, everything since probably the late 90s is a composite at the end of or I would say late 2000s, because who uses film anymore, right? But so I like that argument. It's a composite, right? Well, everything is a composite. Everything, you know, at the end of the day.
But it depends how you define composite. Is the picture that your camera takes on your phone a composite?
Sure.
It's a collection of pixels.
Right.
So at that level, yes, but is that what you mean by composite versus, you know, and usually by composite you mean multiple individual frames.
Yes, I'm talking about multiple frames, and I'm meaning both. Actually, I'm meaning both. But you know, because you'll actually hear. Well, I need to see a photo of, you know,
who's
the
a
Earth.
fence rider.
Right?
Are you saying I'm the fence rider? I mean,
you're probably talking to me.
I'll be a fence rider the rest of my life, man. I'll never make a commitment unless
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Down to.
I mean, at the end of the day, I just, you know, I have to, you know, I guess when we have our episode, you know, our next episode, MC, you'll get my request. You know what? And if you bring, well, hey, it's all right. I happen to have it right here. Here it is, you know, and then there we go. And it's a wrap, right?
Yeah.
But I think they're very reasonable. I truly believe they're reasonable. I'm not asking for a car in space, a Tesla in space. I'm not asking for like that, you know. What you got?
You want me to bring this up on the screen? Did you change something down there? Or?
Oh, no. I just went to a different.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you wanted to bring something up. So, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows who you are and everything like that, but how did they
you got crap load of subscribers, you know, and you've been doing this for a while. So you obviously, you know, you come very versed and very prepared. You know, I mean, this isn't your first rodeo. So, and I appreciate you. Chris, I'm sure appreciates you as well, coming prepared and ready to have a conversation, but most importantly, showing the human side of you. You didn't come out here throwing words and, you know, and ad homs or anything like that. You're like, hey man, having a conversation. Oh, you want to talk about this? Bam, boom, here it is. Good stuff. You give me some things to look at, and that's all I could ever ask. You've got me critically thinking here. And at the end of the day, that's what we all need, right? It isn't just don't believe. You know, Dave Weiss says stuff like, hey, don't believe me, go look into it yourself, you know, and he's not the only one that says that. I hear him say it. I've heard him say it, you know, in the last few videos that I've watched of him. But I say often, belief is the enemy of knowing. So until I can verify it for myself, as you have done on your own measurements and observations, then I'm going to be on that journey as well. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do the same thing, because I don't get this, hey man, you either believe what I say or it's, you know, you're just, you know, go drop in a hole. You're literally saying, hey man, go check it out, go look into it. In fact, you're even saying I could be putting words in your mouth, but go verify for yourself. Is that not what you're saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Boom, there it is. And that's
what I did.
Yeah.
When somebody said the founders of NASA were this, I looked it up. They weren't. When somebody said the Antarctic Treaty something, I looked it up. It doesn't say that. When somebody said you can zoom something back in, I went with the P1000 to the beach. I couldn't zoom it back in.
I actually have done that. I with P900 is what I had, and I did that when 2017, 2018. You know, I'm on
the video.
I haven't. I do have it.
Still?
I do
Let's
have
see
it.
it.
Yeah.
Bring it next time.
I will. I will. And I actually ordered me a P1. Actually, I let someone borrow a P1000. I'm expecting it back. But I want to do the same thing again because it's supposed to see a little bit further and better, right? But yeah, so the P900 is what kind of got me on that whole journey. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what started it. I was like, well, let me go to I'm at the beach. I just started seeing things that I wasn't supposed to see according to the globe map.
According to the math that you were given by other flat earthers, but you didn't check yourself, right?
I went to Google and I asked what the circumference of the Earth is, and it told Google, served it up. I didn't go to Flat Earth Society or nothing like that.
But then what?
And then I took the what is it, 8 inches per square?
That's the formula that you were handed but didn't verify. That's the
well, then I looked at, then I tried to find it from NASA, right? Like, what is the actual curvature math? And that was a needle in a haystack trying to find. I was like, well, so many questions. But at the end of the day, all I did was just try to find out what was the furthest distance I could see, right? I mean, optically. And you're saying, well, there's too many variables. There's no exact science.
There aren't too many variables. You do need to account for the variables.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
8 inches per mile squared has nowhere to place the important variables,
which are what? Elevation,
observer height, and
6
the
foot.
amount of refraction.
Refraction.
Dude, you're not 6 foot. You're 5'2".
I'm 5'5".
When you set a camera on a tripod, it's at least 6 feet above.
I have a tripod that goes 6 feet. Okay, it goes 5'11".
Back from the wave.
I'm 6'5". What are you talking about?
No, but where I was, and according to Google, basically where it says I was on the Gulf. Nonetheless, but yeah, I did the elevation at about 6 foot, which is the average. Refraction. So talking about the refraction and those types of things.
How do you put refraction into 8 inches per mile squared?
I have no clue.
You use 5.6.
So you throw that into the equation.
Yeah.
Well, but 5.6. So is that going to be?
It's based on an approximation with no information about the actual weather conditions.
Right. That's what I was going to say. You can't just throw in 5.6.
You need to know the weather conditions, but also it doesn't include the observer height. Where do you put the observer height in that formula?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not in there. There's nowhere to put it. That's why it's the wrong formula.
Well, why don't you send me the formula?
Okay.
Yep.
MC, I got to ask you this question here. Is that a legitimate newspaper frame back there, or is that just a picture?
It was a gift. So let's see, on the left is actually some sort of a diagram. It's not real. Okay. The right side has a boot print. That boot print is actually the boot print picture. Okay. So, and if you look at the like in the corner, there's a date and the name of the newspaper. It's just made up. It's art.
Oh,
it looks cool though. Looks cool.
I was kind of thinking for a minute there. I was like, look at that, man.
This one here, a viewer sent me. This is a Gemini rocket that he got signed by John Glenn.
I met
John Glenn signed that. He scratched out his own name and put my name in, and then mailed it to me from Australia.
So that's an actual photo, an actual autographed.
It's an autographed photo.
John Glenn's he was just up the street from me, man. He was giving autographs to people all the time, man. Around here.
That makes your story like a little less impressive there, MC. He says, well, he's right up the street from me.
No. I'm not saying about that. I'm saying about he everywhere he'd go, he'd be like,
hello, your buddy got your name out. Well, I got John.
I've seen him 10 times in my life, years ago. And it'd be like, oh, hey, there's John Glenn. Yeah. But he was big, popular around here. So
there, up where you're at. Up in, I don't know how many astronauts I've met. I mean, being near the NASA space center here in Houston and Webster, Texas, it's, you see them. I've supposedly met tons of them, right? But they don't really do much other than just take pictures with people, right? They don't sit down and have conversations like MC does. So I appreciate that. They're too busy. But with that being said, man, we've been going at this for 3 hours. Wow. We normally go long, MC. We do, but I didn't expect to go this long with you, man. Honestly, I didn't. So, but I appreciate you being here 100%, man.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yep. I learned some things, and you have some things that I need to go learn, apparently. And I will do my own research, trust but verify, and I'll come back to you with my findings, And do you have any three takeaways, man, from our conversation today? I know it's kind of all over the place. What would you
Yeah.
say? What would you say?
Always a good conversation. It's good. So I debate flat earthers on my MC Tune live channel every week. And so this is a much different conversation than a debate with a flat earther.
Well, I hope it was a better conversation. You know?
Oh yeah. So much better.
All right,
I have, there's an entire spectrum of goodness of conversations that I have with flat earthers. Some of them I have a really great time with, and we just laugh the whole time. And I'm like, let's come back. I want you to come back. And others, it's just like instant dumpster fire. And it's weird because there's a couple of us that do debates with flat earthers, and I'm the nice one. The other guy is from Scotland, and he gets a little more heated sometimes, but every once in a while he will get along with somebody really well. And then I'm like, hey, I should have him on my show. And then he comes on my show, and we're just like, bam, just instant. Like, I don't know why,
Like
different
Springer
personalities.
show, man, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing I don't want to have is a Jerry Springer episode. I really want to have a conversation because it's us talking, but there's people listening as well. And what the one thing I don't want to do is deliver incorrect information and tell people to go, hey, go believe this, do your own research. At the end of the day, take everything that you've heard on this particular episode and do your own research, verify for yourself. It is up to you to decide if you know or not. If you believe, if you come to a conclusion that now you know what you believe, I guess. But yeah, I think this was a very cool conversation. I mean, I didn't know what to expect other than what you've delivered. So I appreciate that. I mean, because I saw your other videos. You seem like a really nice guy. And again, I know you're human, man. You eat pumpkin pie. So that's a bonus, man.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, you have any last things you want to, obviously you still think we live on a ball. I get it. Yeah. 100%, whatever. And we went to the moon now, apparently, according to you. I don't believe that stuff.
You know what? I know a few of those guys. It was a fun time in my life and everything. And honestly, I'm more excited about what they're going to do in the future and everything. I don't trust the government. Never have, never will. I worked with the government for a very long time and all that. So I don't actually think governments do things good for their people. So all those things. So all the conspiracies out there, they could be true. I don't know. But I will lean on civilian people for getting the accurate information, and I enjoy having different people on both sides of the story, all that kind of stuff. I'll do some research here and there and everything like that, but I enjoy the conversations and I enjoy the people. I hope that they're all okay, and everybody's all right with their point of view and they can express it freely. I really enjoyed having you on, and I think that one of the things that I think that I liked was that when you talk to me, when I ask questions and when you talk to me, you didn't go off into a story or, you gave me the information quickly, to the point, all that. And I enjoy that, and I appreciate that,
straight to the
because
point.
there's a lot of times when people really have something to say, they'll go for a while and they're losing me. I don't know what they're saying, but I appreciate the way that you were talking to me and everything like that and with Kryptonian too and Fowler, but it was very enjoyable to have you on here, and I'd love to see you again.
Yeah. So back to the last thing is the lie, right? So that goes back to the a funny thing happened on Way to the Moon documentary. I have it, but it's the part that's narrated. So I'm gonna go find the full doc. I don't want to hear the person talking, and I was listening to it while we were talking a while ago, and but you're still listening to the narration. I don't want to hear that, but you can still hear the astronauts talking.
Yeah.
About so that's the part I want. I'll find that. I'll clip it for you, and you can give me your thoughts on that, right?
Yeah,
and
cool.
and we can that could be one of the things we can talk about as well. It's like, oh, this is probably what was happening, or this is what's happening, or I don't know, right? And I'm okay with whatever, right? But again, everybody that actually tuned in, appreciate you guys tuning in. This was a cool conversation, and do I still believe we went to the moon? No. Do I think we live on a ball? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. He did his damn best to try to convince me, man. He really did. He really did, man. And I appreciate that. I would say I started getting that warm feeling, fuzzy feeling in my belly again, and then it kind of just went away. You almost got me there. I'm just kidding. But I'll see you on the next one. And MC, thanks again, man, for being civil. And keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep fighting a good fight, because I know at the end of the day, I think you're trying to do the right thing, man. My thing is do right and fear no man, and I believe you're trying to bring your truth, what you believe or what you know to believe is the truth, because of your own observations. I believe you're really doing that because you're just trying to get the truth out there, man. So I appreciate that and I respect that tremendously. With that being said, anything else you want to say, Chris? I think that's a wrap.
No, we're out of here.
All right. We'll see you guys on the next one.
All right. Thanks.